Friday night, New York. That's right. CrossFire is back. I am very, very, very excited about tonight's show. Tonight's show is going to be something special. What an amazing panel we have. I see everybody's just chomping at the bit in the chat. I want to say thanks to everybody. We've got a lot of gaming news to talk about. Games, news, cancellations. There's a lot that's happened in the last 48 hours, and we're here to cover it for you. I just want to say thanks to everybody. Please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you don't mind. Go ahead and think about hitting any button that's on there. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. But if you guys will take a second real quick and look at that outstanding description right there. I took a moment to put tonight's show, that synopsis for you right there, so you guys have an idea of what's going on and what's coming your way. By the way, shout out to Shiny Red Flag for the subscription while we were waiting. Really appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel. The channel's growing, and I appreciate that. But if I could take a second here to thank each one of those Mooch Maniac family members, that's that join button that's right above that description. It would mean the world to me. It really would. Domino Zero says, happy Friday. Super Chat's working. It's a miracle. Domino, thank you so much for all of your help, too. Let me thank the great Sir X-Man, JudaZuk, WoolleyGamer, MumbleRanting Gaming, Tyson Web 509, TrueWiddy, Big Chuck 777, Alphonso Carter, BRAP, Jamie, Damion, the great Jimmy Harrison, who's here, Andy Hart, Isaac Gentry, Red Hood 420, Ham Solo 05, Rob Jones, Dad of War, Night Ripper 7, Toto Dope, Thumbs, JC 2013, Get This Work, one of the best names in YouTube, Get This Work, Ice Queen Gaming, RP Gaming, Passive Profit, Dex Flex 27, Lord Metroid. Shout out to the great Jimmy Harrison. He says the super chat is working. Big shout out to you guys. What's up, Forte? Let's have a great show, brothers. Jimmy, it's going to be a great show now that you're here. I appreciate that. Our major Mooch Maniacs, Brian East, Jack Reeves, Kriggs91, Audible Fart, great name, Captain Crunch, Samurai Leafs Fan, Brosy Brosum's back, Alex E, Thavi Shreng, Miss Phantom, Matty Beast, Julian Johnson. What's up, Julian, my man? Sergeant 12, Seattle Chef, Muck 45, Nola Origins, your boy Roy, Scolari Brothers, Smokes 901, DC Gaming. Shout out to DC Gaming and Kratos 99. Appreciate those guys constantly gifting subscriptions to the channel and to new people. It means the world to me. Shout out to Miko as well. Gaming with Persona and Jay Barry, who've got What's Up PlayStation tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Please go over and check those guys out. Supreme Samurai, Tactical Gamer, Danelle Brown, That Guy Smitty, 4-Star General, Brian B, a.k.a. Delirium Blades, and our VIP Mooch Maniac, Snoop Will Pockskate on, great name, Domino Zero, Shadow Assassin, Strictly! Shout out to Strictly Gaming and the Wise Old Gamer. And our honorable mentions, you're out there without food, water, or toilet, come home. Marty, Ambassador, Bison, Chris 713, Percolator, Hustle and Motivate, Slaying Chilean, and our forever Mooch Maniacs, Longshot 316, and the great Optimus Code. Guys, what a show we've got for you. I'm very excited to have this panel assembled. We've got great conversation, and you guys are here for the Crossfire. So without further ado, I'll start with the one and only. You guys know him as E3 2023, may be canceled. BRAP, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. BRAP, how you doing tonight?
What's up, Mooch? Hey, I'm happy to be back. I missed last week. And look, I just want to say something. If anyone ever had any doubt about my fandom towards Xbox, let me just share a quick story.
Please do.
Share a quick story here real quick. So look, I'm 46 years old. There's no shame in that, no shame in that.
Hey, you're wiser.
And when you hit that,
that's right.
Yes, I'm wiser. I like to think I'm wiser.
Absolutely
wiser. But when you hit that age, there's certain things you have to do, certain medical screenings for certain types of cancer that you have to do. And I had that done today. And let me tell you what I saw. They put me under, Mooch. They put me under.
Yes.
And let me tell you what I saw while I was under.
What'd you see?
I was dreaming about playing Halo Infinite.
I've got to ask you the question again. Was the game completed in your dreams?
That I can't confirm that, but I was playing Halo Infinite while I was knocked out under sedation, and that's how you know you're a hardcore Xbox fan. Let's go, Mooch.
That's great, buddy. I appreciate that, and thank you for the story. Well, listen, he's here tonight. You hear him. He's literally, as BRAP's talking, you've got the great BRAP assembled, the BRAP podcast. Part of it's here. The great Gaming Forte is joining us tonight. Forte, it's outstanding to have you back. How you doing tonight?
Man, I'm good, man. It was and first of all, I want to apologize to you publicly. It's been so much stuff going on over the course of the last week. I saw your DM literally a day ago asking me, was I gonna be on last week? And it's just been so crazy that I was like, oh man, I gotta show up to the show this week because I don't have anything going on. I'm not working. So I apologize to you.
Oh, Forte, listen.
It feels like I ignored your to me in DMs.
No apology needed at all, buddy. We were just going to work behind, just so the audience knows, we were going to work a little behind the scenes on some audio stuff. But Forte, I got to be honest with you. Just the fact that you're here, that's all that matters to me. So I really appreciate it when you have a day off. I
appreciate it. And anytime you get a person that super chats saying, glad Forte's here, it's always great to be back to CrossFire.
You already know, and I will get to those super chats as soon as we finish these intros. Great to have these guys here. We got our special guests here. And by the way, guys, we have one or two others that are going to be joining us as the show goes on. But the great Merc305 is here. Let me tell you guys something. A little bit behind the scenes. It's fun to tell the audience a little bit about podcasting, what goes on, especially on CrossFire, where we have a different panel almost every week. Merc, you know, we've been trying to get you on the show for about a month and a half, buddy. You're a tough guy to book, but it's good that you're here. How you doing?
Hey, glad to be here. Always a good time on the podcast with the guys. Looking forward to the topics. And before we get into it, there will be no PC slander today. That is not allowed. I'm gonna be on yo. Well, I don't know if we can curse.
We're not allowed to. But, not in the first minute or so.
Yes,
thank you. I appreciate that, Merc. Thank you for keeping it PG-13.
I wonder what happened this week for the PC slander to happen.
There's a couple topics, Forte. You just read the list that I sent you. There's a few there. Without further ado, the great Broken Games HDR is with us. BG is back. You guys know him from Weapon Wheel Podcast, Sunday nights, 5:45 p.m. Eastern Time, the Lord's time, that is. BG, how you doing tonight? Great to have you back on Crossfire. Now, BG's been muted, so I'm hoping everything's okay.
What's
audio.
going on?
There he is. Okay. That's okay, BG.
What's going on, everybody? What's up, Mooch? Yeah, good to be on again, man. Some stuff went down this week.
Yes.
A lot of stuff to talk about.
Well, BG, listen, and that's why I was, I sat there, fingers crossed, when I said, BG, can you make the show? And he's like, I'll let you know in a couple of hours. I'm sitting there the whole time like, BG, you got it. You're opinionated. I got to hear your take on this week's news. But BG, great to have you here. Gonna be honest with you, this is a treat. He's kind of blown up. And listen, he's been doing this a very long time. But I'm going to say he blew up because I love the stuff that he's doing. He's doing YouTube shorts. He's doing about three podcasts and one video a day. I might be off by a little bit. You guys know him as Reforged Gaming. Lono's with us tonight. Lono, welcome to Crossfire for the first time. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys having me on here. I don't have any procedures or anything, but I do have to admit that I have to dream to play Xbox titles because there's just not any of them to play. Anyway, BRAP, it's good to know that you have to dream to play Halo, though. I like that.
He probably doing that in the game that he was streaming in, too.
No, actually, all I heard was a lot of double kills. Oh, that's all I heard. Triple kill.
Love it.
That's all I heard.
That was a dream. You're right.
Love it,
guys. That may have been a dream.
Guys, as we get started, please go ahead and tweet this out. Let everybody you know. Tell a family member, a friend, a neighbor that we are live. Hit that like button. And let me just say here, shout out to Patrick Q. He says, it's Friday. Play some games and be happy. Patrick, we're going to try our damnedest to do that. Shout out to Newtonian. He says, glad to see my man Lono on Crossfire to the moon. So here we go. Let's get going right away. I like to put our guests on the hot seat first. So I'm going to start with BG because I already know that Lono is going to go off when I ask him. So I really want to hear BG's on this one because Lono might take the mic for about a half hour once I give it to him, and I can't wait to hear it. So BG, this has been something we've been saying on this channel for a very long time. We said eventually the dollar deal's got to go, right? And we know that people have been manipulating the system and been able to, maybe in one of them, right? You pay $1 or you pay the $10 after you bought gold for 2 or 3 years. Then you sub up to Ultimate and you get the Ultimate for the entire duration for just buying gold. So, I'm going to ask top level, and this is going to be like an onion. We're going to peel the layers back as we go, BG. But realistically, what do you think about this whole thing with the dollar deal ending? And do you think that this starts to inch us towards what's going to happen if the ABK deal does go through? Does that have any effect on it? And do you think the dollar deal going away will affect the numbers that we've seen Microsoft's preaching about their subscriber numbers?
I mean, I was always a little bit confused about the dollar deal because I initially thought that it was like, people, kind of doing that little trick where they got another email address and kept on signing up for it. But apparently it's like a legitimate tear, according to what I understand. Like you don't have to like do any tricks. I was always confused.
You don't.
But okay. Yeah, because people always described it as something like they were getting away with and not an actual tear. I don't subscribe to Game Pass, so I only go by how people describe it to me. But I know people are definitely going to be, upset that it's going away. It's still, I'm sure most people are still going to consider it a great deal, whatever the next tier up that you have to pay for Game Pass is. It's almost like I forgot what it is, that movie deal, Movie Pass, where they
Yep.
let you see unlimited movies.
Yes.
And then for a certain amount of time, and but then they went under. Not saying Game Pass is going to go under, but what I'm saying is eventually the best, those best tiers and best deals initially, when the service is there, goes away eventually.
Yep, fades out.
So they can't last forever. But most people will still see it as a great deal for what they're getting in Game Pass, yearly, monthly, whatever they do. But will there be people that unsubscribe because they're like, okay, that dollar deal is what they were there for? It might be some of them.
Yeah.
I really don't know. It's hard to gauge.
Yeah, BG, and I'm kind of glad you did that. You kind of set the volleyball up for Lono here. Lono, I'm going to go to you here on this real quick because I did see a bit of your video, pardon me, on this. And you have a slightly different take than I do, but I got to be honest with you, I do see where you're coming from. I'll ask you first and foremost and let you explain. The ABK deal, does that play a role in the dollar deal, first of all? And second of all, will this now change like a lot of people's minds? Right now, when it was $1 or it was just a certain dollar amount to kind of sub up and just jump and piggyback off of gold, if that now goes away, now people are forced to go to the $10 and $15 option here. What do you see this doing as we kind of move into this next step and you see these acquisitions? This money's being spent. They are going to start to recoup it. They're done farming at this point, it seems. Does this change things?
I think it's unavoidable that Game Pass price has to. I think to do that, you absolutely have to. It's like you can't be letting people actively have a loophole. I mean, people that were getting mad about it were basically people that were doing it every single month. It wasn't really intended to be used. On my actual video about this, there were people brainstorming and planning how to use new family plans to get on Game Pass for the smallest amount of money. And so I've always said that this ecosystem that they've fostered is one where I'm concerned that you're going to constantly have this sort of people diving in and out and churning, but also just fostering. They're telling me I'm having mic issues.
It's doing it again, Lona. It just got better a bit, but you are cutting out. It's muffled, and it's almost like you're being muted. It's not coming through clear. You know what I was thinking? What you did with your PC before the show started may have been enough there. Maybe you might want to just drop out of Discord and jump back in.
He got cleared towards the end, but I wonder what's causing that.
I don't know, because before the show, Lono actually said, "Can you hear me?" I said, "It's coming through just like it was." He reset something on his PC, and he was coming through crystal clear, and then it started again.
I went in and turned down the sensitivity, like it should just be. Is it any?
No, it's still doing it, Lono. Oddly enough.
I don't understand. I have no issues with my mic all day long, and then Discord.
No, your videos, you're crystal clear. That's what I'm saying. It's a Discord thing for sure. If there's a way I can actually get away from Discord moving forward, it's something. I mean, Discord joining PlayStation, Xbox, and PC for that gaming experience, that's a great thing. I'm not going to take anything away from that. But for podcasting, it causes issues from time to time. Lono, if you want to try, I would dip out of the app and then jump back in because you've done everything on the PC side, and we can go from there. I'll go on to our next guest, and then when you get back, I'll throw the mic to you. There you go. So we'll try that out. Merc, what do you think about this? You heard BG stance, and I couldn't make out everything that Lono was saying, but Merc, where are you on the dollar deal? Where are you on Game Pass? Are you prepared to pay 10 or 15, or are you doing that right now?
No, I'm not subscribed at the present time, but I think it's inevitable when, it's like every business. In order to grow your base, you kind of throw a crumb out there for real cheap, try to grow your base in hopes that when you do end that deal, per se, in this case, the dollar deal, that some of those will latch on and stay subscribed for the $10 plus, right? At least that's why they've been offering it. But in lieu of what's looking to be the ABK deal probably going to go through, I think they're probably, some of that has to do with they're getting ready for that. You know what I mean? And they want to capitalize. And at some point, you got to stop taking losses. I know that Xbox says that Game Pass is profitable. I don't see how it's possibly profitable at the current time. Who knows? I don't know. I don't have the numbers. None of us do. You know what I mean? But yeah. I just think that's just just business taking its course, man. Eventually the good deal's going to end and you're going to have to pay the price. That's just what it is if you want to stay subscribed.
Yeah, I mean, Forte, I want to ask you here because we don't get a lot of Forte time. Forte, listen, this is interesting, right? I mean, this is a situation where, me and you, big fans of GameStop, right? For different reasons, but nonetheless, big fans. What do you think when you see this going on? Is there still that deal with Microsoft and GameStop as well as far as Game Pass and pushing that through on the register side of things? Now I lost Forte. Pretty soon it's going to be Mooch, BG, and BRAP. BRAP.
I mean, I have noticed when
I didn't. Hey, I was
there's
muted.
Forte.
Go ahead.
I muted myself. No, I would say no. That deal's still going on. I do think it's mostly just at a certain point. It's like you got to stick with the devil. It's like they don't. I mean, what are you going to do? Digital is always going to be a thing, so you might as well find a way to actually dip into that to get people into the store.
Yeah, monetize.
So we definitely still support it. We still sell it. I talk about it all the time when people are buying systems. I mean, you just gotta, their biggest thing is not really pushing games on the Xbox platform anymore. It's mostly just pushing like all the accessories, like controllers and stuff like that. And Microsoft really supports retail when it comes to like the accessory push side of it. That's why you can like walk into a store and still find Xbox controllers, but for some reason you can't find PlayStation ones. But outside of that, this dollar deal, I mean, I took advantage of it back in 2019. I mean, I went out to the store, bought 3 years of Xbox Live, upgraded it for $1, and Papa Microsoft Xbox, I haven't had to pay for it since. Microsoft gives me. I'm a unique situation since I work for. I sell things for them, so I get a kickback on Game Pass every year. So I never really ever have to worry about it running out. But if it did run out for myself, I would most likely still keep the subscription going, not mostly just do for me, but my family really, really partakes in it. Like my daughters, they play games inside of Game Pass all the time. So it saves me a little bit of money on the back end. But ultimately, the dollar deal falling off, it's going to be a short-term hit for them because we talked about it on DPS yesterday. The people that take advantage of the dollar deal are the people that really don't think about it. The people that really don't have the time. Well, they have the time to play games a lot. So those people, then it's going to affect a lot because they can't play as many games because they're probably not working. They might be kids that are in school and stuff. But the people that this doesn't benefit are the people that don't have times to play as many games as Game Pass out there. Think about it, like me, like BG, all these other people that have these full-time jobs. We basically are very selective in the games that we buy because we're like, yo, I ain't got time to play all of these other crazy games. So Game Pass really isn't something that's going to really latch on for me on a consistent basis to stay, subscribe to it. Now you just took that one avenue away from people that, have minimum income. And now you're telling those people like, no, now you got to pay us the $15 a month, which comes down to, the younger ecosystem of people that's coming up,
but Forte,
relying on their parents and stuff to do that.
Forte, you hear this all the time at your store. I mean, realistically, is this something? I mean, this could change the number. This could drop the number.
I think it's going to drop it. It's not good. I don't think it's going to substantially hurt the number.
Right.
I'm not going to think you're going to see them say we were at 25 million and now we're at 16 or 18.
You're definitely not going to hear that.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see anything like that. But I do think you're going to probably see a swing where they're still not going to talk about that number for a while. And I also think that it's just going to ultimately come down to once we start. I think they're betting on the fact that this is the year that they're going to really see a return on some of the games that's coming out, for Xbox. Like they're really banking on Redfall, Forza Motorsport. They're banking on Starfield coming out the end of the year. They're thinking that those games finally releasing this year is going to really propel them. And this is something we talked about for years. Like everybody been on this dollar deal when pretty much Microsoft hasn't really released too many games. So you really got a discount on something that you thought you were getting a huge value on, but they really weren't giving you anything to really, decide that hunger for the games that you've been trying to play. Like think about it. Starfield was a game supposed to come out last year, but when Starfield comes out, if you're on a dollar deal, you're going to have to pay $15 for this game, at least in Game Pass, unless you go out and actually, pay for the game outright. So I think they're banking on games this
That's
year.
a great
and banking on
point.
games next year. So
Forte,
that's why I think they're doing this.
Forte,
and
you
it's
just
only a matter of time.
You just revealed, I think, what Microsoft might do. BG, I want to hear your point, and then I want to get BRAP in this too, because I know BRAP's going to really sound off. BG, real quick. So what Forte's saying, and you know what Microsoft does, they're never going to say they went from 25 to 20. That even if it did happen, not saying it would, but they wouldn't say that anyways. But BG, the one thing that we're going to see is like the month that Starfield comes out and like people do sign up for the 1 month for $15. Because think about it. You could play the game for 30 days for $15, beat it, and be done with Game Pass, right? If ultimately that was the game you wanted to play. So we're going to see Microsoft go, oh my God, we spiked up. We're up to 32, 35 million, subscribers. We know that number. I don't think that number sustains after that necessarily. We'll see. It depends on how the constant flow of games comes. But BG, how do you think that they're going to portray their numbers moving forward if there's a hesitation in growth?
I mean, they're always gonna, talk about the engagement numbers and that like the first week of how many people are playing Starfield, for example. Just how many people did this in the game, how many people did that in the game.
Right.
We know they don't, they're very careful about their optics now, which is why they don't really reveal any like hard sales numbers, any relevant, meaningful numbers, which is okay because that's by all accounts that's not what they care about anymore. I'm not sure if I really believe that because it's hard for me to believe that any of these companies don't actually care about sales and all you care about is engagement numbers. I'm if you have the choice between even though they're all about Game Pass now, if you have the choice between your Starfield selling 25 million and the game and 25 million people playing it, you're going to choose 25 million people buying it.
Yes.
So but this is the best. They figure that this is the best situation for them moving forward to just bring people into the ecosystem. And they're trying to put Xbox the Xbox platform everywhere. So that's they say that's what they care about. So if that works out for them, then hopefully that's their strategy that they're moving forward with.
No,
So
I agree. Forte, hold on, because you made two good points. I want to welcome Jez7780 here. Jez, welcome to the show, buddy. I'm going to get to you in a second.
What's up, guys?
I want to ask BRAP here. BRAP, Forte made a point.
Yeah.
The other point he was making there is time, how much time we have. A lot of people keep saying, Mooch, why do you say this about Game Pass? There's so many games in there, plus they're new games. I mean, everybody that says that is on Twitter, is in the YouTube space, and we all talk, on whether it be through the chat or on Twitter. There's only so much time in a day, BRAP, right? So at the end of the day, right now, let's just say me, for example, I understand a lot of people didn't pick up the PSVR2. That's fine, by the way. But PSVR2 came out with 40 games. A lot of them I didn't play, so I'm playing through some of those. RE4, I'm trying to platinum Hogwarts. The list goes on and on here. My point being is that when people go, Mooch, don't you take advantage of the 200 games in Game Pass? If I wanted to take advantage of them, I don't have the time. These new games now we are in full stride with this generation. Not next generation, current generation. Games are coming out every 2 weeks. April is stacked. May is stacked. June is stacked. Final Fantasy, Diablo. Listen, my point being is there's no break. So when I'm trying to beat these new games that are coming out that I want to play on new hardware, am I really excited to go back and play Left 4 Dead in Game Pass? Not so much. Not saying everyone's me. I'm not saying that. But realistically, a lot of times I ask people to stop and think consciously. Like, do you actually put down these 2, 3, 4 new games you're getting to play like Left 4 Dead 2? I mean, maybe you do, but not often. I mean, BRAP, what do you think about this dollar deal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was only a matter of time before they were going to get rid of it because I mean, obviously the dollar deals to get people in. The first, like they say, the first hit is free. The second one you have to pay for.
Right.
That's the only analogy I can think of. That's pretty sad. But no, I mean, like, no one should be surprised by this. I mean, at some point, and they're going to raise the price again, by the way. Like when you make a $70 billion acquisition like this, it just doesn't pay for itself. It's not on Microsoft's dime. No, it doesn't work that way. They're going to want to recoup that investment, and they're going to raise the price as they acquire publishers. They're going to raise the price of Game Pass. That is going to happen again. It's inevitable. I mean, we've seen other subscription services where that's happened, where there's acquisitions, like Disney would be an example, and the price for that service has gone up. It's going to happen again. But, like I say this about Game Pass, look, it's a great value proposition. but everyone's individual use case is going to be different for Game Pass. I'm like you, Mooch. I'm not going to put down Jedi Survivor or Diablo 4 or God, what? There's so many games that have come out. Tears of the Kingdom, or Resident Evil 4 remake to go play an older game in Game Pass. That's not my use case. Someone might like that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I think, look, I think we all know that Game Pass is going to be a model that there's going to be a lot of, churn. Churn is something that happens in the subscription service. Actually talked about quite a bit when you hear investors talk about, subscription services and entertainment. So, but again, I think it's at some point it's going to go up in price again. So no one should be surprised when that happens.
Right. This shouldn't take anybody. That's the thing. I'm not going to sit here on this show and pretend to be amazed. I mean, we could say, wow, I didn't see it coming this week, but you knew it was coming down the pipe. And that's the thing, Jez.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jez, what do you think, Jez? We've been saying this on this show. I know you've been saying it on the gaming grindhouse as well. I mean, the dollar deal is come to an end. I mean, how does this affect? And you know what? Actually, guys, I want to say to Jez and Worry Ward who just joined us, and Lono's working on getting back in here, guys. So if you're looking for Lono, he will be here. He's just working through things on his PC. But Jez and Worry, I'll kind of do a two-part here because I want to get through a lot of these topics, and we got I told you people were coming on the panel. It's great tonight. What about also the Game Pass friends and family? So Jez, two-part. The Jez, the friends, right?
I come on with a two-parter.
The friends and family and the dollar deal. What do you think, Jez?
Happy Friday. Dollar Bill Phil, it's an end of an era, man. He's retiring. And he said it's all about family. Pass. That's what he said. But, the thing is with this dollar bill.
Olive Garden, Jez.
Oh, Jesus. Please.
It's all about family.
I need 2 more beers before we talk about Olive Garden. but the thing is, with the dollar bill, first off, we know about the stacking stuff with the dollar. A lot of people bought the year of Xbox Live and then upgraded to Xbox Live Ultimate. And one of the stipulations in the fine print was that you could only do that for 3 years. You can only stack for 3 years and upgrade for $1. Websites, everybody was saying, what a strategy. You buy 3 years for $180, and for $181, $1, it's like goddamn Price is Right. You get 3 years of Ultimate for that stacked. And then after that, you couldn't stack. So, this dollar bill stuff was really a way, and even, with the Oreos and the chip witches and all this other stuff, it was all about growing that number account. And we knew, and I know, Mooch, you were saying it as well, that price is going to go up as, who's paying for these acquisitions? You know what I mean? This is not goodwill handing out.
Everything comes back to the customer eventually. It doesn't matter how you look at it.
Somebody got to pay.
We pay for it in the end.
It's just they didn't have the content to leverage justifications of doing anything. And you saw this at the end of last year when they slyly, during the week of the show of the VGAs, was like, all our games are going to $70. Well, they didn't have games worth $60, though, question marks on there before that. They were, except for like Forza Horizon, and even piecemeal Halo, like $60 just for the campaign.
Yeah.
Now they got the leverage of whatever they want with Starfield. I think that's what they're really hanging their hat on, and Redfall as well, Bethesda game. And just saying now we can charge $70. The quality is there and all this other stuff. So basically, now they got the leverage. So I anticipate that there's going to be price changes, like BRAP was saying. I think that even with Sony changing their PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now model, kind of made Xbox Live Gold look even worse than it possibly could. Even the games were horrible in it. But the fact that, for PlayStation Plus Essential now, for $60, that really just destroys Xbox Live compared to the games that they're giving in there and the games that Sony's been giving. So Microsoft really needed a restructure, and it is confusing because it is like you could get Game Pass for $10 on console, but it doesn't include live. So there are games in Game Pass that you can't play online, like Sea of Thieves, without the $15 version of Game Pass. So they need to evolve that. And I think what they're going to do, and this is, Grindadamas type thing here, I think they're going to create another tier, and that tier may have the day one games that maybe they're going to maybe get Activision and Bethesda games day one for $18 a month, and then $15 will give you your other games that we've been getting day one. But if you want these tier games, or maybe Ubisoft and Bethesda and they put it like almost like a cable package.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like almost like HBO and Showtime and Max. You want those 3, you pay a little bit more. And you get those games on day one from our other publishers. But if you want our other publishers, us and the other third parties, do that. So the family plan, just go with the family plan thing. I think, you know, that is definitely coming on, you know, on the horizon. It hasn't come to the US yet. I think that will be you know, it's just another way of kind of people sharing stuff for the family plan. I think it's more beneficial for friends. I like that I think it's interesting that they're including friends in there because it's not as restrictive as, you know, basically like a Spotify somewhere they got to keep their own home address.
If it keeps going, it'll be friends, family, and enemies.
Family, in-laws,
enemies,
yeah.
anybody. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
But again, it's just I you know, they need. You heard Phil in New York Times. The Game Pass on the console is stagnant. He says and it wasn't stagnant because he didn't say they had games, which that's the reason. But he said that you kind of move everybody who has wanted to upgrade to this service. You have maximized that, and he said that about the console, and he said the real growth is on PC. So they are already looking for ways to kind of grow Game Pass outside of the console. And, you know, the family and friends thing is probably the way to do that, because I was really surprised that they're kind of just putting their hands up at the console day in and day out, man. It's dire days for whatever the console is. Like, I don't know what it is to them. I think they're just pandering to the audience and just trying to hold on and to whatever legacy Xbox they got. But I think that this console is just more and more just kind of a thorn in their side.
No, that's a good point.
Want it out.
Good. Well, I just got Lono's back. I wanted to get his take. And I apologize, BRAP. I'll give you the mic right afterwards. I'm going to get Rory's take. Lono, first of all, hopefully the mic and everything is working again. I'm sure it's fine. Wanted to get your take on the dollar deal and also the Game Pass friends and family plan. We'll get into the dollar amount. Right now, that's a bit, no pun intended, murk, but it's a little murky. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily know, but Lono, what's your take on, again, we wanted to hear what you had to say on the dollar deal being non-existent as of now.
Well, before I launch into it, do I sound any better?
A hell of a lot better.
Yeah, a lot better.
Okay, good. I had to switch rigs and everything. I have no idea why Discord does not like my Focusrite, but it doesn't like it all of a sudden. Okay, so let's take two. I think that the dollar change was inevitable, but I think the response to it is the most telling part about it. In my opinion, the ecosystem that Game Pass is fostering is one where people sort of are looking for the best deal, not the best value, not the best quality. Yep. And on my video about the dollar deal going away, I didn't really see this as an opportunity to dunk on Xbox. I sort of see this as a changing of the times for them because I believe they're going to have to increase the price likely later this year. I'm thinking fourth quarter. They want to get Starfield out first probably because that's already a price increase if you actually buy it. And in the comment section on my Game Pass video, there were people already sort of planning on how they were going to use the Family Pass thing that they're going to launch to basically get Game Pass for the cheapest deal, which what blew my mind is that people are trying to get a deal on a deal. Like Game Pass is probably one of the best deals in gaming ever. I mean, I can't imagine thinking you're going to get more games than you get on Game Pass for like $10 a month, I think. So I've always felt that Game Pass is one of the best deals in gaming and one of the best values in gaming, but I actually think it fosters a really unhealthy perspective on games as a piece of property or as a luxury item that you should be, placing more value on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I see where you're coming from on that. And so you're saying basically we've always said values in the eye of the beholder on the show. You know what I mean? So there's no doubt. I think you'll get everyone to sign off that it's an amazing deal. How can you get mad by $10 a month getting that 200 games or more in that catalog? It's unbelievable. Plus, the thing I've been the most upset about, though, just me as a consumer, I'm not talking about the chat or the panel, is that the promise, the big takeaway from Game Pass is the day and date AAA blockbuster exclusives. And Jez, I think you say it all the time. So and if it's not you, say Mooch, that wasn't me. But people have been paying for this for a very long time.
That was me.
Right? Or was it you, BRAP? People have been saying this for a very long time.
No, that was my use case for Game Pass was AAA games. It made sense to me.
No, it's for everybody, really. I think that was the sales pitch. That it was the day one games. Because if you remember, when Game Pass launched for a year, it was basically a lot of 360 games. And it wasn't until they committed their first party games to Game Pass that everybody raised an eye to. Oh, okay, wait, your whole first party lineup, day and date? Wow. That's been the sales pitch. And that's been lacking for some time, and they've been sprinkling out. They went full years without any big gain from them to do that. And even last year, they really didn't even grab a lot of big third party, and third party coming out saying, we don't want to be in Game Pass. Hey, we're not in Game Pass. Forget about that rumor. You know, so it definitely was the sales pitch, is the big day one games. That's what it was.
Worry, what do you think about this whole thing? I mean, is that something you also buy in on? I mean, I know you have Game Pass, and I mean, you make some outstanding jokes on Twitter in favor of things. You know, it's not always a bad thing. I'm saying, Worry, where are you on this whole thing? I know the dollar thing doesn't sway you left or right, not at all. But I mean, at the end of the day, how does this affect Game Pass and its numbers?
Is the $40 confirmed US, or is that still
that
New
to
Zealand?
me? So
they said New Zealand.
They're saying New Zealand, which when you do the conversion rate, it's $25. I still think it'll be more than 25, even in the States. But right now I would say stick with what we know: 40 in New Zealand, 25 in the States, and other territories.
You know what's interesting about it is that they've essentially created a tier, and I saw some questions about this and not a lot of answers, but they've essentially created a tier where one subscriber really equals 5 in terms of active users. So that active user number being able to sort of generate an accurate number when it comes to profit is sort of even murkier now in the future. So I don't know if they're going to differentiate between the fact that, I mean, I'm assuming that if you're going to pay $40, it's not like, you know, you're going to go around with like a bookie banging on doors to collect $8 a month from the other 4 people every month. I'm assuming one person's going to pay that, and you're going to share it with 4 other people. Now, those 4 other people aren't actively paying into Game Pass, but they are contributing to the active user number.
Correct.
So if that active user number can be inflated by using this family plan, then that bodes well in terms of sort of hiding the actual profitability, or whether or not Game Pass actually is doing something in terms of, like, you know.
That's something I said a long time ago. I'm glad you brought it up, Worry, again. That's exactly what I'm saying. This pads the stats. Now Microsoft, instead of saying 1 active user per Game Pass, now family plan with 5 people, they're going to count that as 5. Even people in the audience are probably like, well, why wouldn't they? Well, for the active users, it does work.
$1, I mean, I've had $1 now for the last, I think it's 4 years. I just got another one until 2024, and then that's it. Personally, I'm not going to pay $20 a month or $15 a month to subscribe to Game Pass, because ultimately what I want isn't third-party games. I want first-party games that are really, really good. I want games that actually, like, you know, speak to me in the generation that I'm in. I don't want to play games that are sort of, you know, last generation holdouts, or I just haven't seen anything good come out of Microsoft first party. And I know that I'm going to get attacked for that, but I don't give a fuck, because I'm just tired of trying to sort of manufacture enthusiasm around really bad first party releases.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just a wait and see when it comes to things like Starfield. I like Bethesda. I think Skyrim is the best RPG ever. I love it. I love Elder Scrolls. But, you know, Todd Howard isn't exactly, you know, Mr. Delivery when it comes to, you know, complete games upon launch. And Redfall looks like Redfall. You know, it looks like Left 4 Dead. It looks like Back 4 Blood. Hopefully it's a single player game like they say it is, but I don't know. I'm holding out hope for that. When it comes to Fable and all these other games, I mean, how many times can I look at a face when it comes to Hellblade? I don't know how much more.
And Vacation
Photos. Phenomenal. It looks absolutely incredible. The motion capture, everything looks fantastic. But what happens when you actually have to render other things on the screen besides just a giant face?
Yeah.
Is it still going to look like that? I don't know. And, you know, with Sony, I know that, and again, fanboyish, I don't know, whatever. I have an expectation when it comes to what they're going to deliver. I can confidently say that I'm probably 90 to 95% sure that Wolverine from Insomniac is going to be incredible. And I can say that based on their history, based on the output. I can't say that based on Microsoft's first-party output, especially after the biggest game they've ever had in the world, Halo, turned out the way it did.
Yeah,
so
that's
I'm just not interested in deals for, you know, renting games. I'm just not into that.
Yeah, what do you think about that? And so, Lono, that's one topic that we've been talking about. Worry brought it up, BRAP brought it up, and shame on me if I haven't caught it on your channel. But what do you think about that? The minute I saw Friends and Family, and I want to get BG's take on this as well. The minute I saw Friends and Family,
adding the numbers.
Yeah, I think the number, they want this so that now everyone that clicks on that, and remember, you might go, well, Mooch, come on, $25, that's more than 10. It is, but 10 individuals is $50, right? So now 25, and they're still going to claim that 5 for active users. So when Starfield comes out and they're like, we had 40 million active users. I always say, just stopping by and pressing the A button, is that the one-to-one comparison of when you see sales of like a Ghost of Tsushima or you see a God of War Ragnarok, those types of numbers, or a GT7? Are those the same thing? Not really, in my opinion, but what do you think?
Yeah, it becomes difficult to measure commercially because I had people saying that like Starfield's going to do better than Spider-Man, and I was like, but how can you measure that commercially? Because the commercial sales of Starfield won't be measurable because you have 25+ million people that don't have to buy it. And I talked about this today. I was having a podcast with my buddy, and I was saying, listen, the scalability of this just seems unsustainable. Like they're going to just have this be their loss leader almost eternally, which is concerning for a variety of reasons. Concerning like, well, what are they going to do with ABK? Well, I actually think they're moving towards a subscription model the way they treat Microsoft Office, because if they own enough property, they're the only place you can get it. Well, there'll be a time where we look back fondly on when we could actually buy games on their ecosystem. I believe they would like to move to a total subscription model. But they're going to get there through complete loss lead. Like they're willing to lose tons of money. And the other thing to consider in that loss lead is as it grows, the question would be, are they having to spend more money for the people that they want to put on it? So imagine if they boost up from 25 million subscribers to 100 million. Let's say a miracle happens and it just explodes with tons of more subscribers in the funnel. Well, that actually adds ground to needing to pay the developers more money, because now they're going to say, hey, that's 100 million people who now don't have to buy our game on your ecosystem. We need to be appropriately compensated for that.
Yes.
And if you fostered an ecosystem of people that are like, oh, hey, we're going to find every deal, every loophole, every shortcut we can to save money, the question becomes, how long till the Netflix season 2 effect takes place? Because we all saw Netflix dump tons of money into their first-party shows because it would boost subscription numbers. But then when season 2 came out and it didn't boost the subscription numbers, they would cancel the show. And I'm looking at all of this amazing property suddenly being under that Microsoft funnel, saying, all right, well, thanks for your game. It boosted sub numbers or it gave us value, but now there's no ROI on continuing your studio, your project, or any additive content because it's on Game Pass. So I'm not sure what other strategy they could have other than moving everybody to a subscription model, because that's exactly how they've treated their software, and Adobe's done the same thing. I fear that's the future for a significant portion of the gaming market because Microsoft's wanting to own a lot of it.
Yeah, I wanted to say something. Like, Lano, I was listening to your podcast earlier, and you were saying too, like, one of the ways to cut the losses is that, like, a lot of the games that they're getting right now are made to to pay, like they're for basically for the consumer to buy. Like these are direct to consumer to buy. These are not based in subscription, so they could have changed these games the way they're designed, the way they are delivered to us, if they're focusing on a fully subscription model. And we have yet to really see. We start to see some elements of this, but we have yet to see, because some of these games have already had legacy and just traditionally just selling it to a customer, and they could adjust that. And you guys were mentioning that early in your show about how and that's my biggest fear with Game Pass. Like, I have nothing against subscription gaming, but when you're taking everything that you're going to deliver and putting in a subscription, you're going to make that game you're going to make it for the format of its delivery. If it's being delivered in a subscription, you got to put the hooks, you got to put the seasonality to it. You're going to have to make these games, and that's one of the reasons why they're buying whole ass publishers, because they could change how the game, everything, ins and outs of it, to fit the Game Pass model. Not just trying to get full price $70 games off a shelf and in a service. That will be a huge loss for them, and there'll be a big front money that they got to pay for that stuff. But if they could design a game from the ground up and every action could be picked for that model that they want to deliver it in, That's why they need control from the very top. And that's why they're not going out there and just grabbing $70 games. That's too costly. Let's design the game specifically for the subscription model. And that's what I don't like, that everything that they're making is going to be that mentality, because you're not going to get the stuff at $15 either. Price is going to go up and they're going to give you less.
I want to add one thing to what Jez is saying that's really important, okay? This is extremely important to remember right now. So much of the value of Game Pass right now is all of the games that are currently on it. And I would say about 95% of the games on Game Pass right now were all developed in a buy-to-play paradigm. So they were developed as if they had to be sold. Once you get out of that paradigm and you're building games for a subscription model, the value and quality of the games will change. I believe they will go down, because it's not about getting people to buy. It's about quantity over quality.
You know, Matt Booty said what you said in different words. He said, be prepared. Yeah. You're going to see a lot more of those AA style games. So we have our teams ready to keep putting content out. You've got to feed the beast. And the beast is Game Pass. And BRAP, I'll give you the mic. I just want to say shout out to the Rogue Inquisitor says, as someone who hasn't touched COD since Black Ops 2 on the PS3, I feel no compulsion to sub to Game Pass. If anything, I see more mismanagement coming from Microsoft in the future. Rob Jones says, what's up, Mooch panel and chat? Have a great weekend. Appreciate that, Rob. Thank you. TrueWiddy says, ain't that funny? Just finished Lono's Google stream. So there you go. TrueWiddy, a big fan. Buck's here. He says, Mooch, come back to us, bro. Redfall, Wolong, Forza, Starfield, Diablo 4, Stalker, Lies of P, COD, back on catalog, etc. All in 2023. You're concerned about Game Pass. But Buck, my only thing to you is, those games you just mentioned outside of Forza and Starfield, they're multi-plats.
They're multi-plat games.
They're multi-plats.
Like
you know, Surrogate says, I play on Game Pass and I buy games at a discount. My 4 grandkids will buy skins in Fortnite. Xbox knows what it's doing. But Surrogate, the same thing. Sony's making money on those skins too. That's not neither here or there. That's the wash. The thing is, how do you capitalize on the IP you're making? And Lono just said, will the quality start to go down once you start seeing what these teams that are acquired are mandated to do? They say that they're not mandated to do anything, but they are going to have to fill Game Pass. Tactical Gamer says, 5th inning, Mooch. It's not looking good. Tactical, you scared me. It's only 1-0 Marlins. We can come back. Sports. When it comes down to it.
There's only 170 games left. Don't worry about
it. But tactically, I mean, so BRAP, go ahead, BRAP, because then I want to get BG's take before we switch subjects.
Yeah, no, I've always been hesitant on the theory of that the quality, maybe just say like AAA games or having AAA games may not be something that we see in Game Pass because of the cost of making those games, and then maybe the quality is, using the word compromised, but maybe it's compromised because, again, you got to think about the cost of game development. And I think about Netflix. Like when you see Netflix, like in their movies, they're not like these big blockbuster movies you see at the movie theater per se. They're just not. They're good. They're not bad, but they're not like these big, Michael Bay type. Not that budget. Michael Bay puts out great movies. Yeah. Which leads me to, something that Lono, you brought up on your show. And I think you may have talked about it on BRAP this Wednesday when we had you on, shameless plug. Something effective like where we could see, that maybe what comes out of this is like PlayStation becomes like the luxury brand of gaming per se, and Microsoft's kind of that middle tier, right? Like we were talking about like cars, I think, like, or you were talking about cars in your show, I think, like Honda, BMW. I didn't think anyone. I think people were mad at the BMW analogy, but I think that was something that you talked about, and that's kind of an interesting point. Like maybe that's what happens because we have these tiers, right? We have these tiers in other consumer products. We have it in gaming too, like with indies and AA, AAA games. But maybe that's what comes out of this too, is that we have, kind of a more luxury brand, if you will, and that maybe could be the PlayStation, and then you have kind of that middle of the road, and that could be Xbox. Maybe that's what comes out of this.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Rory.
So when you talk about it's a luxury, gaming in general for everyone in the market is a luxury. Nobody spends $500 because they have to. It's a luxury. And if you look at sales, PlayStation just had a February that was better than any PlayStation in history, right? PlayStation 2, better than anything. So the majority of people out there understand that gaming is a luxury, and they're choosing the luxury item because they're delivering luxury content, period. That's all it is. If Microsoft would just understand it, it's not that they don't understand it. They don't want to compete in that space. They want to change the space. They want to own the space. It's like when you go out and you buy a football jersey, your favorite team, right? You pick your team. You like that jersey. Microsoft wants to be on the tag inside the jersey, the person that's making the thread. They want to own all of that. So it doesn't matter what jersey you choose, they're in control of everything. That's what they want. They don't want to compete on quality because they haven't done that in such a long time. And I'm just so tired of trying to figure out ways to be enthused about what's coming from them. I need something. Where is their Horizon Forbidden West? Even if you don't like that game, technically, how the hell is that running on a PlayStation 4, let alone a PlayStation 5?
Right.
Look at the DLC coming out, right?
Oh, baby.
Everybody calls that, oh, it's not really it's just DLC. Okay, they're actually highlighting why you should buy a PlayStation 5. When did that become a thing that you just stopped doing?
Where's Halo DLC? Where's that campaign DLC?
If like the idea, like none of these games we were talking about earlier, Starfield was in development before Microsoft purchased them, before it's under Game Pass. Redfall was in development before Game Pass. A lot of these games you're waiting for in development before Game Pass. Once these studios start to create within Game Pass, what is the quality going to look like? Because I promise you, you're not going to spend $300 million for a AAA game when you've got to fund the AAA game, you've got to fund Game Pass, you've got to fund all of the deals for third-party games to come into Game Pass, you've got to pay to keep the lights on. Something has to give.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the quality of those games. Now, whether or not you want to convince yourself that going to the buffet and getting the Salisbury steak is just like going to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant is the same thing, go right ahead. But there's a reason why both of those places still exist.
That was kind of my point, where like that Microsoft could kind of be that maybe buffet, and maybe Sony's like the Gordon Ramsay in the future.
That's fine, but the thing is, people need to understand that and realize it. Don't pretend that steak you're eating is just as good because you're only paying $15 for it versus $47 for it. Yep. Don't be convinced of that. Don't let them convince you that quality is somehow objective. There's a subjective truth to quality, period.
Well, or by quality, you mean, and I do agree with everything you're saying, by the way. But I think by quality, you're also including scope of the game and just the difference between a AA and AAA game, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. This idea that now, well, who's to say what I see this all the time. Who's to say what a AAA game is? Well, everyone is, because we've been playing games for how long?
Right.
Yeah. If you don't understand what an indie
there's actually
game,
a definition for it. I mean, there's tangible differences between AAA and AA.
Like Hi-Fi Rush
that should be obvious.
Is a fantastic game. It's phenomenal. I would say that's probably maybe a AA, maybe?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there?
I just think people need to understand, too, because I'm seeing the reaction in chat, and I know that this often sounds like fear-mongering, but I think maybe a better way to position this would be that many markets experience what you would refer to maybe as economic equilibrium, because there's a sector of the market for Walmart, but there's also a sector of the market for Brooks Brothers, right? Like people are going to shop for clothing depending on their desires, depending on their budget, depending on what they value. And I think you're going to see similar economic equilibrium within gaming. I had a guy in my community, he's a lawyer, he's really smart, and he kind of educated me on this. He was like, you're talking as if Game Pass is not meeting a need or a desire that is there within the market. And I think we see that because look at what Microsoft has done. You had a $1 entrance point. You have the Xbox Series S. You have low entrance point gaming. And I don't think it's necessarily automatically a bad thing if you end up with more AA games and Game Pass sort of being the place where you go for quantity over quality. That's not a dig. That's not a slam. That, again, to me, it looks like an economic equilibrium. There's no reason to look at lower cost cars and say, oh, that's ridiculous. Those are bad cars. Those are junk. No, they're just made for a section of the economic consumer base that will buy them. And I think we're starting to see that in gaming.
Right. But that's not, wait, hold on. That's not what I'm saying. I understand that. And there is a market for all different kind of games, and I would welcome that. What I'm saying is there's this mantra coming from Microsoft and Xbox that their AA, their single A are really AAA games. Just pretend that this is the highest quality that we can possibly give you, that you could possibly expect. And I'm saying that even though somebody might shop at Walmart, they're not pretending that they're at Tiffany's.
Yeah.
And Walmart isn't telling their consumers that, hey, it's really Tiffany's, and this is what you should expect now from the entirety of the industry. There has to be a
studio. Which was the studio that they said that they were going to make quadruple A games? What was the name of that studio?
40 people on the initiative, Mark.
Okay,
That's what
the initiative. And then it came out that basically the initiative was being broken down into several teams, essentially making AA games.
Right.
And when that happened, that's what I'm like, all right, this doesn't work for me. This is not the reason why I'm in. And I get it. People,
I primarily play indies and AAA games, but I understand.
Yeah.
Like if somebody tried to sell me on the idea that, hey, you know, Vampire Survivors just as good as quality wise, just as good as Last of Us 2 in terms of you know, creativity and technology and motion capture. I'd look at them like they were, you know, there's something wrong with them.
And worry, just to go on that, like, you know, the other thing too is the mentality is that, oh, everybody should do it. Sony, put your games in everything day one. And it's like that kind of no.
That's a good point.
Xbox wants to do their thing, you do your thing, but that should not be the dictation of what the gaming industry should be, because we don't want that across the board. Like, you know what I mean? Because we know what it will do to games. Like you said, it will level itself out. They're not going to just give away this service and say, look, it's free, it's free. Dude, there's a catch. There's always a catch. And now look, the dollar bills coming out. They're getting ready and positioning to increase the numbers, because increase the price, because they got the games coming that you've been waiting for. And now they got the leverage to do that. And now you're kind of set now in this subscription mantra, and you're going to pay more money to rent this game or whatever like that. But keep that there. Don't tell PlayStation, Nintendo, everybody should do day one first-party games. We will never get AAAs again. Those games will be adjusted accordingly to the distribution model.
Yeah, no, that's a good point to make too, Jez. BRAP, you got a point? I do want to get BG's point.
I do kind of what Lonis. I agree that they are different addressable markets in gaming, and I think that we're gonna. As I think more about Game Pass, I think that's kind of we're gonna see more of that. And people treat not here on this show, but I see people on Twitter tweet or treat gaming like it's different from any other consumer product, and it's just not. It really isn't. It follows the same laws of economics. It has the same, impacted by supply demand. It's impacted by, people having different use cases and things like that. So I do think in the future, at least, I think we'll probably see a segmentation of Sony and really Microsoft, where again, I think Sony's going to be kind of the place where you get those high-end experiences, and Microsoft's going to be like Walmart. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying, I don't want somebody like, oh, what do you mean Walmart? No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Yeah. There's an addressable market for those things. So
yeah, no, BG, I'm gonna. There's a couple things I want to say. BG, what's your take on not only the topic of the family plan, all of that, and Game Pass overall as we kind of make this transition? Because then I do want to ask you. I'm going to switch subjects slightly after you answer, and I'm sticking with you, BG.
Yeah, listen. To be frank and to keep it short, I get real tired of the conversation about Xbox being about everything but games. That's what really annoys me about it.
Yes.
It's always about a service or what they're doing outside of a game. And it drives me crazy, honestly. Like the things people praise Xbox for, the least of those are games.
Yeah.
It's always like, the service. Oh, the
refrigerator.
The app, the customer service. Oh, they talk nice to me on Twitter. Oh, they're so friendly. Like, bro, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, Xbox coddles people. They rock them to sleep sometimes.
Aaron followed me.
Oh, Phil Spencer. I actually played a game with Phil Spencer on Xbox the other night. So what? Like, who cares? What did that do for you?
He's a gamer.
They literally rock you to sleep. They rock you to sleep to the point where you forgot that they're not delivering nothing to you.
Yeah.
So like that whole good guy stuff and being pro consumer because you get the subscription service and everything for cheap. Like, man, I don't care. I get tired of that conversation of everything about them being, and people say, oh, Game Pass is about the games, but is it really? Because that's what y'all talk about the least. What y'all talk about the most is how little you had to pay for the games, not the games.
No, that's a great point, BG. I got a couple super chats. BG, hold on. We are gonna talk. I make a promise every week. We only do ABK talk, Xbox ABK talk, 15, 20 minutes, and I will cap it to that. I'm actually gonna switch subjects. We'll come back to so if you guys are here for some of that ABK talk, we are gonna come to it in a second. I want to get these super chats. Surrogate says, if quality does go down, people will unsubscribe. He says, duh. But Surrogate, you say that. What have you gotten in the past 2 years that kept you subbed? That's my question to you. Kim says, Microsoft wants to be the Walmart of gaming. Magnum Visuals, good to see Magnum back. He says, what if they ended the dollar deal because of the ABK deal? It is a monopolistic practice to undercut competitors by offering products at a loss. Magnum Visuals taking us to school. TrueWiddy says, loyalists won't unsub if quality is down. No games, no go mess for years. No games for years, I apologize. It's a bit mangled here. And there was still praise. No first-party launch and subs went up. Quality doesn't matter. TrueWiddy, not a fan of Game Pass. Buck is back. He says, but didn't Sony say COD is God tier? Xbox owns COD. Well, that's what Worry said. Worry's right. They want to own the tag on the shirt, because they're not going to make COD, Buck, right? So what they do is they buy it, and then you hope to God they keep with it, right?
They're not going to make a great-looking jersey. They're just going to own the company that makes the cloth inside. And if you're happy about that, fantastic. But I'd rather play a video game than sit there and talk about, they own the company that makes this game, that, by the way, is on PlayStation, that, by the way, has the largest audience playing the game still on console. I don't know how that's a win, but, if you invest in Microsoft, great. You're making a lot of money, and you should be happy. But I'm buying a toy to play with it. That's essentially what we're all doing, right?
Is that a Less Can Steal reference? I'm just
Jesus, I knew you were going to go there.
I'm just asking a question.
No, shout out to everybody. I appreciate the super chats, guys. It's great to keep the conversation going. BG, like I said, we're going to get to the ABK talk in a second here. The Rogue Inquisitor, he said this is the same topic. Microsoft may see themselves as the future Walmart of gaming, in quotes, but the public are showing a clear preference for premium, high quality, rather than cheap, mid-range bargain bin gaming. The numbers prove it.
That's right.
Nobody really wants to talk about it, but Rogue Inquisitor, he just puts his cards on the table.
I just said that.
Yeah, it's what it is. Dude. You see these numbers. I know. We look at people say we can't go by VG charts. I agree with that. We used to say VG charts.
Greenberg went by VG charts, Mooch.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If everybody
Greenberg tweeted it.
Greenberg in the Xbox camp was running with VG charts when they were leading, when Sony had no stock. I even said all day.
Yeah.
I was like, once the stock comes, then we'll see.
He really didn't mean it though when he tweeted it. He wasn't really endorsing it. He was just tweeting it.
He was saying thank you.
Just for the hell of it.
Right. And that's fine. If you guys don't want to count VG charts, that's fine. But those are the only analytics we really have on console sales. Sony and
you mean
Nintendo.
For Xbox, not for
Xbox,
PlayStation, though.
Sony and Nintendo are reporting numbers. Microsoft's not. They don't report anything except for active users who stopped by and had a sandwich while they were eating the game. That's all we really know. It's murky. Mark, you're getting a lot of publicity tonight.
Listen,
the great,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
The great BG. BG, I got to ask you. We're gonna, like I said, I do want to talk ABK deal because Lono did a video. I believe he had one today, and I think he had one the other day, and he really hit home on something. I actually have a note on it, so we'll get to that later. But BG, I want to talk about this because myself, you, Jez, Worrywart, those are the ones I know on the panel. Forte May as well have the PSVR2. Sales are reportedly, in quotes, underperforming. Is this speculation true in your opinion? Or is this the media literally saying, hey, we're going to put this out there, and then everyone just ran with that? Because Sony hasn't given any numbers on PSVR2.
Yeah, I don't know. So this came from Bloomberg, and Bloomberg got it from a firm, from a research firm.
Right.
So research firms, I say I would give them the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
Not to say that they're pinpoint accurate, but I would say that somewhere in the ballpark they would be accurate. Regardless of if they're right or not, PlayStation needs to do certain things with PSVR2. It needs to, make it compatible with PC. That's number one. They need to make it available in stores because right now you could still only buy it on PlayStation Direct, I believe.
That's it.
Yeah. That's another simple thing.
Yeah. That's the biggest hang up.
It's not in stores. People can't even stumble upon it if they wanted to. You got to buy it only at your digital storefront. That's the only way somebody will even see it. So they need to do that. also, if it's true, continue with the PlayStation. Continue with the software and game support, and it needs to be. It not only needs to be the like the third party developers. It has to be like what they did, like what Capcom is doing with Resident Evil. Like Resident Evil 4 is going to get VR support, I believe they said, and what
Yes.
PlayStation did with Gran Turismo. Their AAA first party stuff, not necessarily make a first party VR only game, not necessarily do that, but for the games where it makes sense, add VR support to it. And we've heard rumors about that, about some unannounced games that are going to be announced soon. They're going to support VR. They're not VR games, but they're going to support VR, and that's fine.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be a built from the ground up VR game. It just has to be, the AAA games from first party, and like I said, where it makes sense, where you can apply VR, put it there, and I think those are the most important things. And don't just leave it out of your showcase. You still gotta remind people. You gotta drop the price also. That's the other thing. Eventually, I don't know. I don't get into the economics. I don't know when's the best time they should drop their price.
Mhm.
It's only been a month. It
right.
seems longer, but it's literally only been a month.
So
and
BG
and this report said that they've sold about 270,000. I don't know what the original. I couldn't find what the original did in a month.
They didn't. I looked too. I didn't see the month numbers, but just to give you a couple. So it was 915 or 951,000 over. I think it was the first 4 months. So
915.
915 over 4. Was it the first 4 months, BRAP?
First 4 months.
So first 4 months. So they're
That's
on.
with it being available everywhere.
So they're on pace.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were available everywhere.
And the holiday season too. There was
So-
a full month of the holiday
Yeah,
season.
I
Once
looked-
in November.
I looked this
season
up.
too.
I looked this up
Yeah.
too. PSVR launched when there were 48 million.
Demos.
There were 48
Yes,
million.
That's how I got it.
There
Yeah.
were 48 million PS4s in the wild when PSVR launched. PSVR2 launched, again, only on the Sony store, not in brick and mortar or anywhere else. And there's only roughly 31 million PS5s out there. So there's it seems like it's almost on pace to match the 915 in 4 months, and it hasn't even hit stores yet. I mean,
Well,
go
I
ahead.
think that has a lot to also to do with the fact that people that bought this, that was the hardcore that was going to buy it regardless.
Yep.
You know,
Early
the
adopters.
thing that BG said it was the most important was people can't stumble across it. And then you got to remember back then, Sony was doing a lot of demos of the PSVR, and they were going into Best Buys, into GameStops, into different Targets and stuff, and having people try it. And people would literally buy it because, I always tell people this about VR. The biggest problem with VR is if you can do it or not. You get exhausted from doing it, or do you get sick from doing it? But no one can deny, once you put the headset on and you experience it, it's like nothing else. It just comes down to how much you can actually partake in that, in that ecosystem. But most people will go out and buy it if they can actually do it. And price, I really don't knock them on the price just because it is a very, very powerful VR. But I do think the one missing thing from that, for it being the price as it is, they need to, at some point, they need to unlock the potential of that thing and not just tie it down to the PlayStation ecosystem. That thing needs to be able to plug into a PC, and you should be able to take advantage of all of the other PC games or other VR experiences that are out there outside of just the PlayStation ecosystem. I understand doing it right off the bat, but long term, that is definitely something they need to do, because it's no reason it shouldn't be able to do it. And then on top of that, they need to get that thing out the PlayStation store. Like, I guarantee they sold more PlayStation Edge controllers than they sold on their own store over the last month that they had it available pretty much anywhere for you to buy. Now I understand the reasoning behind it, because you want to get all the revenue. You don't want to share that 30-40% split that you have with retail when you do it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, people walk in the store and they'll see something, and they don't even know they wanted it until they saw it. And I have people that, VR is a very expensive thing. And then we're talking about, it's it's a peripheral to another thing that you need to be able to use it. So there's no way to subsidize people that buy this experience. People like to be able to trade. Like I know people that still had their PlayStation 4, but they don't use it, and they were going to use that towards a PlayStation VR. They already had the PS5. Say, well, I could get probably like $100 off my PSVR, and then they'll come into the store saying, "Yeah, when they're going to take pre-orders in the store?" I was like, "Huh, no way." Sony has it locked down to their ecosystem, and that's the only way you can get it. So that's probably the biggest detriment to the reason that it's. I mean, if these numbers are true, that's probably the biggest reason. But on top of that, they just don't have. I just think they need to open the ecosystem up to PC. On top of that, something that needs to happen.
See, a lot of people say,
before
but
the end of
the
this
thing
year.
is, though, Forte, with the PC thing is right now, I have a gaming PC. Everyone on the panel is a gaming PC. If you wanted to have, like you said, for third party, there's a cheaper alternative out there. You can get the Quest 2 right now for cheaper.
But this is a better. But let's be for real. The Quest is great. It's good. It's a very great entry level mission for people to jump into. This is a better VR system in general. Like that's the one thing we all talked about when people were think about it, when we were talking about is the price of the VR is the PSVR2 is the price justified, and everybody kept saying, well, price is in the eye of the beholder, but you know this is a very it's a more the tech inside of this VR is proving, you know, it's definitely a step above anything that Oculus has put out. You know, it's one of the best values for buck when it comes to technology. So yeah, you can definitely go on a PC and get something that's going to give you an experience for cheaper. But we also have people going out and buying $1,000 Vive indexes or $1,500 Meta Quest Pros that they literally just dropped the price on $500 on. That used to be $1,500. Now you can get it for $1,000. So money's not an issue for people that want to play VR.
The other thing is, though, too, we are forgetting, and I see people in the chat saying it, is that, you know, people are just getting their PS5s. Like, this
the thing, I just want to comment on the PC thing. Like, you know, I don't even know if the first one was officially
not officially
supported, but no. And that's the thing. Like, you know, I know you want the tech on PC, the tech because of the value of it and what it can do and what you can do when you tinker around with it. But again, we're looking at The Last of Us right here. Like, then what are you going to do? Oh, well, this game doesn't work on PSVR 2. Like, you're dealing with games that are not made for the system. They're not there. So now you're in the whole kind of ballpark of why is it even there on PC when you're going to have to tinker with everything and download packages and all this other stuff to get it to work. You know, that's all fun and games, but that's not official support of like, hey, use this on a PC. So that's something that's never going to really. But that's what. They never did that with the first one, though. Why would they do it the second one?
Well, that's what we're saying, though. It shouldn't have been we're going to support this later on. It should have been something that was thought of in the beginning, as this is built to work with a PC.
No, they want to sell consoles. They're still in the console business.
Console.
Yeah, but they're in the console business.
But listen, they put themselves in a terrible situation, first of all, like I said, by not allowing this to be somewhere where anybody could buy. This might have been a moot point if they would have just launched it day and date everywhere, because you got to think people don't have as much money as they had before. And on top of that, you released it on February 23rd. It was a soft launch. Their tax money back, but they also are spending all their money over the holidays. So these numbers might pick up a little bit later.
Of course.
I think they will.
Of course. I think it'll be in stores by June, and they'll do a whole E3 type thing.
I guess my only question is, when we say terrible, like a terrible decision, like we also don't know a lot of things about, you know, we don't know, did it meet Sony's expectations? We don't know that. Did it fall short of sales expectations? We don't know that. Did it exceed sales expectations for PlayStation? We don't know that.
I don't know.
I think it's really hard for us for anyone to say, you know, it was a terrible decision. Like we don't know. We don't know. I mean, we only know.
It's
we
the
can
long
only
game, right, BRAP? It's kind of the long game, and I think that's what Jez was just touching on. You're gonna have.
Yeah, this is a soft launch, Mooch. Like this thing came out in February. First off, they released the other one in November during the holiday season, hustle and bustle with demos in the store with their Pro console. This one was released at the end of February, only on their store. Like, I'm happy that they got all the games that they have on there. But I would tell you right now, and I was like, I am sure they're going to do a big run for this thing in November, and I think maybe even sooner. I think during the summer, they'll do like their summer games fest, like what they do. They do their sales in the summertime, you know, the days of play. days of play. PSVR2 starts showing up in stores. They'll have live demos in June. If not June, they'll have it in November. And that's where you get the hands-on and you get people buying it. And that's what they're going to do. And think about the lineup of games they'll have. They have like over 30 now. Creed comes out on Tuesday. I can't complain about the lineup. It's incredible. The games are incredible that they're having for this, but they're gonna drop. This wasn't a like everybody's claiming death in 4 weeks. It's like, but we're giving Game Pass 7 years though. We're giving Game Pass. Trust me, dude. In 10 years, Game Pass will be it.
Yeah.
But we're killing PSVR 2 and niche in 4 weeks. What are we doing here?
I just don't get it.
The biggest, like I said, the biggest thing. Well,
Game Pass 10 years will be better.
Well, the biggest thing is, and you're right, and nobody should be discounting this within the first month. Like, I mean, literally just past the month. But the biggest thing is coming from a person that just sees people that are interested in this. I just didn't like the decision to basically.
I agree, dude. No, I totally agree with that.
That's all I'm saying.
No, they should have been in stores. They should have been in stores.
It's profitable to them. Sony had the ability to lock that thing down to their ecosystem and tell people this is the only way you can get it. I get it. I just feel like you're cutting out a lot of those early adopters that would just walk into a store and buy something. It is not just one store. It's just any store that they could go into and buy it. It's pretty much the same way they did with their subscription. Now you can't just walk. Think about it, you can't walk in a store anymore and buy PlayStation Plus. You have to get currency cards in this convoluted way just because they want to be able to keep all of that stuff locked into their.
Yeah, no, Lono, go ahead. I noticed in the chat you had mentioned that you had a PSVR 2, which I did not know.
Yes, I was a huge VR skeptic. I said that the price barrier, the subjective experience, the potential of getting dizzy, I said all those things are going to make it really, really hard on VR getting off the ground. It's just going to make there's too many hurdles, I think, for VR to have a fast start. So I think a slow start is expected to a certain degree. I wanted to talk to the PC thing because I think there's two sides to this. On one side, I thought the same thing. I thought, oh, I'm a VR guy now, right? I want to go try VR stuff. Well, I can't try VR anywhere but the PlayStation. But the other side of it would be, I don't think Sony wants this level of equipment being judged off of something that's outside of their ecosystem and control. Because if you go start playing all these other VR games, and if they're crappy or they don't run well and they're not optimized for this, that's going to make you think that this is a bad investment or a bad piece of hardware. So them controlling it. Yeah, I totally get that. But I also understand why the consumer would think that, because I thought that. It's like, well, hey, I've got VR now. I want to go do more VR stuff to experience it. And I think what they need is they need more first-party VR titles. Call of the Mountain is absolutely stunning, but oh my gosh, is it just nothing but climbing. I had a hard time enjoying it because it was too much of the same thing. So they need some first-party hooks so that you associate a good VR offering and library with their system and their hardware, instead of feeling like, well, I wish I could go somewhere else with this and play other titles. That's not a good look. You want people to associate it with your ecosystem and your games.
Yeah.
A perfect example of that is take a look at The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners on the PC.
Oh, baby.
And then look at it on PSVR 2. Would they even have the incentive to push it the way they did on the PSVR 2 if it was available on PC? Why not just have the same experience in that one particular game? And it is night and day difference between the PC version of that game and the PSVR 2 version of that game.
Yeah, no, it really is. It really is.
And all the other emergent stuff, like the tracking, the DualSense, the PSVR controllers, and all that stuff just adds more elements to the game. Like, it's crazy.
Well,
shooting a gun in VR with those adaptive triggers is absolutely insane.
Yeah, and I got some super chats here, but you just ponder this thought for a second. Whether it be the PC, which we're going to get into in a moment, but the PC ports that are coming from Sony in a certain retrospect, or it be this situation where they didn't have PC support for PSVR 2. Sony's involved with Sony. They want to make sure they sell their platform. They want to sell their console. They're tied together for a reason. It is Apple-esque, if you would. I do want to say the great Slow-Mo backslap, back to what we were talking about. Shout out to Slow-Mo. A game being AAA is based solely on its budget and nothing else. Any other definition is inaccurate, and someone interjection their own values into something they don't understand. I've heard that a number of times. It's funny because slow-mo, by definition, slow-mo's right. But it's funny, there's certain games that are, in air quotes, they're AAA games by definition, but boy, they don't feel it. They don't feel it. But I do agree, slow-mo is right. That is I've looked that up a number of times. The great slow-mo backslap is right. Buck says, so COD, and this is interesting, Starfield, Doom, Gears, Fallout, Halo, and Elder Scrolls all in a buffet. By the way, we've been waiting forever for Starfield. Doom, the old games, sure. Gears, when? Fallout, when? Halo, dead. Elder Scrolls, when?
Hey, easy there.
Sorry, BRAP. He says, I want to eat, says Buck. He says, I see what you're doing, BRAP. Stop trolling the bots. Shout out to Buck, by the way. Buck, great sport.
I never said Halo was dead.
No,
I had a dream about Halo.
Were you playing Halo, or were you teasing if you were going to play Halo?
No,
go ahead, Worry.
No, I
I
do
just
play
want to say
Halo.
something real
You
quick
do,
about
yeah. I tried it.
I want to say
Jesus
something about the money making a AAA game. Has anybody ever played the game Life of Black Tiger?
I have not.
No.
I've heard you mention it.
It is a terrible game.
It is absolutely horrible, right?
Yeah.
Let's say that Life of Black Tiger, they spent a lot of money on it, and it was still the same game. Would that make it a AAA game because they spent $300 million on it? No. The money you're spending on a game doesn't just necessitate it being AAA. You're spending that money because you're putting in all of these graphical features. You're putting time and effort into making the graphics and the sound and the voice acting and the motion capture. All of that makes it AAA. So, you can have a shitty game that costs $300 million. I'm not going to say that that's a AAA game just because it costs a lot. I want it to be of a certain quality.
I know where you're coming from, Worry, but I do think the definition is what Slow-Mo's saying. That's what he's going by definition.
Are great. If that's great. Sit there with your Webster's dictionary and
Right. No, I know what you're saying. And what you're saying with the
know.
look and feel of the game is AAA versus something that's not. That is.
I've played plenty of AAA games that cost a lot of money, and they are not AAA games. They are horrible games. So I don't necessarily agree that just because something costs $300 million, it is instantly a AAA game. Even if it looks like a Nintendo 64 game in 2023, I'm not there.
Well, like when you take the game, what was the game that recently didn't do very well? It was the Saints Row reboot, right? Like that game didn't do very well, and it had a lot of bugs and glitches and stuff. But that's a AAA game.
Okay, all right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, but Worry, I'm not arguing. I know where your feelings are coming from, and I know what your sentiment is. I'm just trying to say, believe me, we're on the internet, so you can never speak in absolutes. But I go by the definition. Shout out to Grizzly Bear King. He says 270,000 in the first month is more than 30% of the Valve Index estimates lifetime sales over 5 years, and near 15% of the third best-selling VR headset sales over 6 years, which is the Quest Go. Just saying. So shout out to Grizzly Bear King throwing a couple of stats out there. Impatient Fire says GTA 6 and PSVR 2. Just call it an instant win for Sony. I like the prediction there, Impatient Fire, but I'm not sure we're going to see it. Magnum Visual says PSVR 1 sold 5 million in its lifespan. 300,000 in 1 month is 18 million in 5 years. Sony projected at least double the PSVR 1 in its lifespan. You can't just take 1 month and move with it, Magnum. I know you're not doing that.
There's going to be a drop off.
There's
going to be a drop off always.
So Magnum, I like where you're going, but that's
that it sells less than the PSVR 1.
Right. It's not like the first month and then you just multiply out. It doesn't work that way. Shout out to TrueWiddy. He says, sorry, but exclusives matter. PlayStation isn't third party. E. Kim is back. He says, I always hear from, in air quotes, neutrals, I got my PlayStation for the exclusives, but I never hear that about Xbox, and that says something about each platform. E. Kim, everyone does. Even Xbox guys say, well, I got the PlayStation for the exclusives, right? Exclusives do matter. It's just the way it is. TrueWiddy says, the problem is I can't try it as a newcomer to VR. So someone was saying, shout out to Ryan Landis in the chat as well. Guys, what do you think about this? Do you think the reason when PSVR 1 was out and these others that were coming out during the first generation of these, they were available to try in stores? I don't mean just sold in stores. I mean to try in stores. I remember my local GameStop.
Yeah, I tried my demo in store.
Yeah.
I had a Vive, and I got a PlayStation VR.
Do you think COVID plays?
It's hard to sell something that's based on an experience.
Well, because it wasn't even the experience, so it was the comfort of the VR headset. Using the Vive, like I was getting those goggles on my face and feeling the VR, and I was like, I could stay in this longer.
Do you think COVID is such a comfortable? Do you think COVID's still playing a role though? And why they don't
because
have...
they were demoing it. I was at PAX East last week, and there were demos of PSVR 2, and there were also demos of Oculus Quest. So they had VR demos there. And also, I'm seeing in that London game show that's going on right now that they have a VR station there. So I think that it's not so much of a COVID thing. I just think it's Sony just not getting it out there yet and waiting for some sort of push. And maybe they're going to announce Half-Life Alyx or something like that and then have it in stores or something like that.
I'll tell you,
yeah,
Half-Life,
they're doing like a soft launch or something
Yeah.
like that. They look like that, maybe a Spider-Man VR spinoff. I don't know. But like there's a lot of potential for what they're doing, but the support for it is really incredible, especially with the like we're saying, the launch of it hasn't been everywhere day one. This and also, just the one thing about the sales, you see how the PlayStation 5 has sold, the biggest ever for February. So people are still getting the console. The install base is just going to grow, and then this accessory will be even more accessible and more capable of being on all those PlayStations by the holiday. You know, when you're going to do your big push of VR, and your big push will be during the holiday with Spider-Man. Holy geez, like forget about it. It's a perfect storm. Coming this end of this year.
Well, you say that as a perfect storm. BG, there's no one better than you. You're literally going through on hardcore mode in Resident Evil 4 Remake right now. You're going through the entire game. Like, can you I know you're enjoying the game immensely. Now, I know you have PSVR2. Like, I'm not going to lie. I'll speak for myself, and then I'll turn the mic to you. I'm excited to play that game in PSVR2. I want to play that game in VR.
Yeah, I mean, the game's amazing. And Capcom seems to be a real, genuine supporter of VR. They seem to have just fun, adding support to their games. They did it with Resident Evil 4, the original. That seems to be like them just testing it out and the prototype initially, and then they did it with Village. I think they might have did it with 7. I think they also did it with 7.
They did. They did 7, 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they just realized it fits really well with their games. It's kind of just go hand in hand, and it works out to be a real good experience. And it's just one of the better VR experiences. So I can't wait for it to come with 4. This is one of the best remakes. I mean, Capcom already held the crown for having the best remake prior to this with Resident Evil 2. So now this is just them capitalizing, off of that title.
No, I completely agree. That's the thing. And I think that's what Jez was alluding to. That's why I went to you, BG, real quick with RE4. Was just that Jez was like, they're gonna have games coming out, whether they be first party or third party deals, and then have that tandem with VR, and that is a massive sales pitch, especially when you have big name games. And I think they're going to.
Resident Evil Village has it too. That's
Village has it right now. And I know a lot of people. I know that I follow a lot of the VR channels, and I don't mean PSVR. These guys cover everything VR, and they've said that their experience playing Village has been better with VR than it was. Of course, they're VR channels, but nonetheless, I do agree. It is a sight to be seen. And it is something you have to experience. So it's not something I never try to sell. I'll tell you right now, I say it every week. If you don't like VR, I'm not going to talk you into it. If you want to know more, if you want to know more about it.
You don't need it. You don't need it.
You don't need it.
You're missing out.
It definitely changes the way you play games. And
Exactly.
You have to try it. If you haven't tried it and you say you don't like it, then you have to try it.
Yeah, give it a shot would be my
Which is why it should be in stores and it should be available.
Exactly.
I agree. No, I agree. 100%.
Yeah.
Sanu.com says Xbox had VR. It was HoloLens. It was $3,500 and failed.
That was AR. That was AR, right?
That was AR, yes.
I tried that thing. That was not ready for prime time.
Shout out to Church Keys, who also just tweeted me. He's like, Mooch, I'm there in real time. I see you, buddy. He says that was Sony's weakness with PSVR 1. Need better first-party in-house support. First-party quality makes all the difference. Church Keys, you couldn't be more right. So I want to go over to ABK. I told you guys I'd keep this to about 20 minutes. Then we'll do a 10-minute fire round of a bunch of the other smaller subjects. Lono, I'm going to you first here, buddy. So Activision deal update time, right? Everybody was dancing in the streets. The CMA said everything's okay. They approved it, right, Lono? It's all done. It's just the FTC. But then I watched your show and you said pump the brakes. Where are we right now with this week's craziness with the CMA, FTC, and the Activision deal?
Well, the CMA updated their provisional findings and said that they saw no significant decrease in competition within console gaming because they saw no chance of Call of Duty leaving PlayStation. So I said this is good for Xbox. Obviously, they want the deal to go through, but I also think there's a silver lining that their provisional approval is basically saying PlayStation has to keep Call of Duty in order for their premise to stay true. So I don't think that, you know, Sony's going to count this as a total loss. The Sony had until today to submit new evidence, and I do not think that they did. If they did, I mean, maybe we'll hear about it over the weekend or on Monday or something. I actually don't think that they submitted any new evidence, which means the CMA is then moving on to consider cloud gaming, which is what my show today was sort of about. The Google Cloud vice president, they are filing complaint against Microsoft for anti-competitive and antitrust behavior in European markets with respect to cloud services. Now, this is not cloud gaming, this is cloud services. And I said this could signal sort of Google getting ready to ramp up and make this deal very difficult, because Microsoft's strategy with cloud services is very similar to what we have seen with ABK.
Yep.
They basically approached the companies that had complaints and they offered them contracts. And Google Cloud was basically saying they are only getting agreement from these companies, and then those companies are basically tied back to Microsoft. And we saw something similar, that as soon as NVIDIA had an issue and voiced it to the FTC, within 72 hours, they had a hot and crispy deal signed with Microsoft, and then they retracted their complaint. Google has not yet since done that. So the FTC has their case going forward, I believe, in August. And I think they need to look at how Microsoft has been handling cloud services, because Google's complaint was essentially that they use their software, they use Microsoft Office, and they use operating system, and then Azure, their cloud services, and they make it difficult for the consumers to have choice, which is what I have been saying, that they said they want to build a mobile store. They say they want the entire ecosystem woven together. And I think if you look at how they've treated their software, they're going to want to treat games the same way, where in, you know, in so many years, you're only going to be able to do subscription tiers to get their games. You won't buy games a la carte anymore. That's a prediction that I have made. And I think Google is going to be a pretty big barrier, because Microsoft does have a pretty decent chunk of the cloud infrastructure. Brad Smith responded to these things going on with cloud services, and he said that they're like in, I forget which place. I think he said second or third, and they only have 20% of the market. So they, again, like to kind of paint themselves as this plucky underdog, not a $1 trillion company with market dominance. They like to act like they're not really big, which I always think is kind of adorable. That's their defense tactic. So the provisional finding of the CMA does signal that things, you know, seemingly are moving forward with respect to the console gaming aspect, but cloud is a whole other animal, because it touches massive elements of infrastructure. The other thing that could completely sideline this entire thing is now you've got major players in the tech world saying we need to halt all AI development, because AI is developing and compounding at such a rate that it's almost not even predictable what's going to happen in a month to entire sectors of the technological world. I consider AI at this point to be almost like a technological virus. It's going to spread and infect basically anything that uses tech. And you have to consider that at the speed at which AI is advancing, and Microsoft, I believe, has even made inroads and purchases with respect to AI. And if you weave that into cloud and gaming, that could be considerably pretty scary if you give them that much control and that much power in the market, which would then cause reverberations in the market. You're going to have other companies feeling exposed. They will then consolidate. We saw this with ISPs. We saw this with cell phone companies. The only way to sort of survive is to, you know, consolidate up and get bigger than you were previously. So I think Google will continue to push and try to block this. I think the other very scary silent shadow in the room, no one's talking about mobile, and everybody should be very curious as to why Apple hasn't opened their mouths yet. I would say that Apple, maybe even Amazon, are all staying very quiet because they have their own acquisitions that they want to fire off as soon as this thing is done. And maybe they even have like a gentleman's agreement with Microsoft, you know, hey, we won't block your deal and let our deal go through.
Right.
And companies of this size are known for doing this. So that's kind of where everything stands right now. Japan did approve it on literally the same day that I guess Congress sent a letter, which is a laughable letter that will likely go nowhere, regardless of what people like to say about it. But that was pretty much where everything has kind of advanced, I think, right now. I think that's all of it.
Yeah, that does sum it up. BRAP, I heard you chuckling a bit there. What do you got on this?
No, I was just kind of laughing about, when Lono said, Microsoft as the plucky underdog, because that's kind of how they presented themselves, which kind of leads me to the argument that you always hear on certain podcasts, extreme, fan podcasts, where they say things like, kind of present Microsoft as the underdog, and the irony of they're $1 trillion company, they just really haven't made good decisions in gaming per se, and that's evident, I think, by their market share right now in the market. But yeah, it just it's funny when I just chuckle when I hear that, because I it's like the irony of a $1 trillion company, right? Presenting itself as the underdog. It's like, we know how you guys, well, many of us know how they became a $1 trillion company. Many of us remember when Microsoft was found guilty for antitrust behavior in the early 2000s. And also I kind of chuckle too, because people think that, that consolidation is okay. And I'm like, no, we talked about this on BRAP, and Lono, I know you talked about this quite a bit on your show. Anytime you remove choice, when there's less choice in the market, there's less choice when you remove suppliers in the market, that equals a less choice for consumers. Like I don't understand how people don't grasp that fact. I mean, it's simple math. You have 10 suppliers and 5 of those 10 merge with the other 5. Now you're down to 5. You have less choice as a consumer. You have 5 suppliers you can go to now, as opposed to having 10. Yeah, it's simple math.
Well, worry is BRAP, what you're saying, and the only reason I interrupted is just because worry. You've said this to me behind the scenes too. I think you've talked to BRAP about it. Like, this is what kind of Microsoft does. They kind of they want to scoop in. It's what you were saying with your shirt analogy as well earlier. Like, this is kind of what they did with Windows, and how they kind of sneak in, and then once they're in, it's hard to fight them. Once Microsoft continues to buy out these large IPs, everyone thinks it's all great and grand, but there's an or a worry to have. No pun intended. Worry.
Yeah, real quick. But the other thing too is Microsoft has infrastructure level to leverage adjacencies that other publishers don't have access to. Like, we talk about cloud, Microsoft. I mean, that's an expense that Microsoft doesn't have to worry about.
Yeah, the one thing
that is an expense that another big publisher has to worry about if they're looking to put their games cloud. And when people say, "Oh, well, Microsoft's addressing those concerns by putting Call of Duty on, Boosteroid," Boosteroid is not a cloud competitor to Azure. They're not competing at the same scope or scale as Azure. It's just basically Microsoft putting Call of Duty on Boosteroid.
Well, Call of Duty's already on Booster.
Beneficiary to that is Microsoft.
I think it was on D's Nuts cloud. I think it was D's Nuts or Black Balls. There was 2 other clouds. I was like Black Nuts or something. I don't know.
Although, interestingly enough, I have a C1 LG, and I just got a message on my C1 saying that Boosteroid is now available on my TV. I gotta check that out.
Booster.
Well, there you go. You could play it right there. Somebody said in the chat, they're like, well, Mooch, you guys are, he didn't say Mooch, but he said, you guys are talking about like $1 trillion companies. He goes, do you think $1 billion companies care about you? I've said this all along. I would like to see these companies stay independent. Stay independent.
Who cares about us?
Listen, Microsoft could scoop up everybody that they want, and they're going to hold all that IP. And nobody's asking, like, how's Microsoft going to handle all this IP? Right. I see all the fan art, like, about all the IP that they own, but I could show you some IP that they own from Rare they haven't done GOTS with. Right. Yep. So, like, I don't know what they're going to do with this IP. But the thing is one of the things that we always talk about, the talent. And you're already seeing with Playground Games, they don't want to be scoped. They want to go and make their own stuff. Maverick Studios. You're seeing all these spin-offs. And what's going to happen with the same thing with the big Activision deal is you're going to see dudes just like Zampella say, hey, I don't want to make Switch games for Call of Duty for the next 10 years. Let's start up my own studio where I can make what I want. And you're going to see the talent, the heart and soul of these franchises, the people that came up with those ideas leave. Look what happened to Fable when Peter Molyneux left. Look at Cliffy B. And now Rod Ferguson tried to recapture that stuff. Rod Ferguson's gone. What's Gears going to look like? You got to look. The talent is leaving the infrastructure of
Playground
Microsoft.
Games.
Playground just created 2 goddamn studios.
The Playground
they don't want to be
Games
scoped.
Founders have now all left, and they made 2 separate studios. I mean, that's the thing.
And
is
Mooch, are they
retaining
leaving on
the
good
talent.
terms? Mooch, are they leaving on good terms? Are they leaving going, you know what? Microsoft was great to us. I love them. I'm going to make my next game an exclusive for Xbox. Dude, they're leaving. Same thing with the Ori devs. Like, they weren't first-party devs, but, like, everybody seems to leave with a chip on their shoulder to them.
You're the rich. Jez, you're the rich guy in your local area. This goes for everyone to stop and think about. You go and say, listen, I can't cook, but I'm going to go ahead and buy all these big restaurants. The biggest ones. Now you got a monopoly. You own the best of the best restaurants in your area.
Are we talking about Olive Garden?
No, Olive Garden will not be bought.
That one.
That will not be bought. Thank you for that. I
Olive
appreciate
Garden
that, Jez. But then all of a sudden, all the cooks leave the restaurants you bought. What do you got? You got buildings. You don't have restaurants. You got buildings. Yeah. So my point is, that's what's going on here. And when people say, Mooch, I don't understand why you're so concerned. They took Bungie. Bungie left. 343 takes over. We see where Halo is. You just gave the example with when Epic released. They bought the Gears rights. All that rights came over. Cliffy, he left. Rod's gone. Look at the state of Gears. Things are not good when Microsoft takes over because the talent. Now you have Playground Games doing Fable, and the heart and soul, the founders, a lot of the creative directors, they're gone. They're gone.
Consolidation, Mooch.
And people go, well, come on, don't worry about it.
But it will yield small, like other studios to make games that they want to make. So, like, I think it will economically level itself out. But the problem is Microsoft's going to sit. Well, no, I agree with you. I agree that this could open. I agree that this thing could open up a Pandora's box of just like everybody scooping up everything.
Well, that's what I had too as a side.
That is a problem too.
That's what I had as a side.
How can you say no, right? How can you say no? $70 billion. Hey, I want to spend 10. Sure.
Well, yeah. How do you say no to 10? How do you say no to 10 after 70?
No, what we know about companies, they're in the business to make money.
You're right.
And,
they will do that too.
You got to imagine EA might start kicking the tires and seeing who if maybe one of the other big tech companies want to acquire them.
Embracer Group.
I think Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Ubisoft. That's right, Mark. Yeah. There you go, Mark. Honestly, Ubisoft's going to be the first one bought. Absolutely.
Yes, letting themselves down.
They're probably going to be Microsoft as soon as the smoke clears from this deal.
I just don't understand why people aren't concerned about consolidate. Like I've seen people brush off consolidation and say, "Oh, it's really not that big of a deal," or you're going to have more developers, smaller studios. The studios can't compete at scale with the big boys or fill that void because that requires money.
Because if it happens, my podcast and my YouTube channel are going to explode because I love that box.
Now you know what it is. The consolidation is definitely an issue, and don't get me wrong. I think the free market will eventually handle that, and they'll other studios and publishers will come about. The problem is that when is that going to happen? That takes so much time to create that, and for that to happen, that. Man, when are we going to fill those voids? 10, 15 years down the road? I mean, to your point, it's a concern, man. It's a definite concern for sure.
I think,
and how you say no? Like how do you you come up and say you want to buy these things? You'll get in that situation. Wasn't like THQ Nordic formed from that, like a consolidation type thing? Because it was THQ, and then they were acquired. Then they started scooping up.
Yeah, didn't they break off, or somebody acquired them?
They broke off. Wasn't it Deep Silver became? They bought a lot of the THQ, didn't they?
That's what happened. Something happened where somebody bought a bunch of IP. Well, Tencent's doing it, and then they sold it off to Amazon.
Square Enix,
Yeah,
why does nobody talk about 343? Like if my firstborn son was malnourished and mistreated, would you let me adopt more children? Like I don't understand why does nobody
show Chief's ass?
Why does nobody look at that? Like you have former 343 employees saying that the 18-month contractual policy of Microsoft is one of the leading causes of knowledge loss, talent loss, production loss. Companies underneath Microsoft's policies will not flourish. Their firstborn sons laying on the ground, and you want to hand them a bus full of kids. I don't get it at all.
Well, if you're nice to me on Twitter, though, I'll
look the other way.
I'll be okay with it.
Yeah.
No, Halo is a perfect example, and I go hours about Halo. They destroyed my favorite franchise, but like their executives left, man.
I just want to address something in live chat. Sergeant said BRAP consolidation is going to happen. You want it with a bad actor or a company that hasn't learned its lessons? Well, what? It's a company. I don't understand that mindset. It's a company.
Microsoft learned its lessons.
Microsoft's $1 trillion corporation. You think they got to be $1 trillion corporation by being nice?
Yeah. No. I think they're referencing if not Tencent's going to end up with it, which I understand that argument.
But again, it's still
BRAP. They learned their lesson, BRAP. Come on,
consolidation is consolidation. It doesn't matter who does the consolidation.
Goes to church every Sunday, BRAP, since they learned their lesson. Leave them alone.
That's another thing. Like Tencent gets it instead of Microsoft gets it. It's like, well, wait a second. Microsoft has a track record of destroying some stuff. Like Tencent doesn't have a platform yet, and it still stays where it is.
Microsoft literally said in 18 months, get the hell out, so we don't have to pay you fucking insurance.
Yeah, benefits. That's why they did it. Yeah.
Benefits.
Remember, you guys remember why they did that? Because they got sued for misclassifying their employees because they didn't want to pay them benefits.
And then they made it a policy.
Yeah, their response is to make it a policy. That's the company that you want to hand a third of the effing gaming market to.
Yeah.
That's
they interviewed Matt Booty, and he said every time he visits there, he just brings the coffee. He don't know what's going on, so he don't care. He just brings coffee. He walks out the door. Booty don't care.
The booty.
Booty should be watching that stuff, man. He should have his ass eyes on all of them.
But it's so trivial to me. Like, it doesn't matter who does the consolidation. It's still consolidation. It's still less choice for the consumer. It doesn't matter who does it.
That's the thing. Keep these companies independent.
$40.
And when you say
easy,
and when you say Mooch, I see people online from Activision boosting for this. Of course, their stock right now, what is it, $76? They're gonna get 95. They're gonna make money on it. So that's why you see the people that are out there from Activision, and you don't see everyone from Activision cheering it on. You just see the ones that are stand to make a huge profit.
This is the question that I have, though. This is the question that I have. How does buying this much property create more value and create more property? I don't understand why anybody thinks you're suddenly going to get more games, more value, and more property. One of the quickest ways for them to recoup costs on this deal is to downsize and to shutter studios, because you immediately take operating costs down, which expedites your ROI. I don't know how anybody thinks this is going to result in more games or more quality. They keep saying, well, this is going to make Sony compete. I don't understand what you mean. Sony is the market leader. They don't need to compete more. They've been competing quite well, actually. The question would be, how is it going to make Microsoft compete? Are they going to have to innovate? Are they going to have to create new IPs, new games, new studios? No, they're buying existing stuff. It's not going to create a net gain of value or games. It will likely result in less.
And they're just going to ride the wave out. They're going to, just like the Minecraft wave, they're just going to get on established franchises, get the surfboard, and just ride it out until they run out of ideas.
This will result in less jobs. Less jobs. But you'll see more layoffs a year after this deal goes through.
They're going to consolidate their own studios internally. They got too many.
Mooch, look, I've been part of 3 M&As. The first thing that always happens is elimination of positions. Always happens. It always happens.
Positions that are redundant, that they already have filled, they get rid of them. Everyone's like, well, they're going to do great under these people. That's not the way it works. And I got to say what Lono said makes sense. How do you're not getting anything new. The reason, Lono, let me answer your question. You said, what is it they expect to get? Everyone just wants to take all the games, put them in Game Pass, and they're like, well, I'll get them for $10 a month. That's what they think.
They want to see all burn.
And that's not a net market gain. That's just saving you money. That's not putting more product or more quality or more innovation into the market. It's just making something that was already coming cheaper. That's what people don't see. It's like, you're just going to get a better deal. That's the other thing, is like, oh, Microsoft's pro-consumer. There's no such thing as pro-consumer. They're pro-profit. And when you think they're being pro-consumer, they've got you. Like, you're totally a sucker at that point, because basically pro-consumer, you're just saying, oh, I got a good deal. Okay, well, that good deal made you part with your money, which went to their bottom line. Like, that's the purpose and function of it.
Pro-consumer is you're their product now. That's what it means.
Right.
You're the product.
So the only benefit here is that you save money, and that's the other thing that nobody's looking at. Let me ask you something. You're going to take all this existing property, all these things that are slated, like, I don't know, Activision's on record of avoiding Game Pass because it's cannibalistic to sales. That's actually part of the documentation in one of the investigations. But let me ask you something. So you're not actually going to be adding new content, new games, or new innovation into the market. You're going to take existing property and put it on Game Pass. So that's a double whammy, because you're doing two things. There's no net gain to the market with respect to actual product, and there's actually going to be less revenue going into the market because less people have to buy those games. I don't see how anybody sees this as a win.
A flip side to that that I've seen is people saying that all of these studios are now going to work on new things in addition to the things that they've already established, like Call of Duty, and that's going to be somehow beneficial to Xbox. So that's something people throw out there that I think is important. I mean, if you want to bring up both sides.
I think I even heard on CrossFire back in the day, Mooch, I think they said by putting their games on PC will give them Microsoft more money to make more games for the console.
Oh, yeah.
How's that going? Yeah. Remember that?
Oh, I certainly do.
I remember people saying that. I'm like, okay, how'd that money go?
This is going to lead to more games. Where are they?
Where are they?
Where are they? We've been sitting. Everyone in the chat right now, they're saying, "Oh, clowns!" It's that. Listen, hear me out real quick. You've had a Series X for what 2 years change, right? And you have 2 years and change, and you don't have. There's nothing. Halo.
Look, Hellblade 2 has been in development for the same amount of time as Horizon Forbidden West. That game released and DLC is coming out, and Hellblade 2 still isn't out.
And a PSVR2 game.
Wait, no, hang on a minute. You don't be talking about my Ninja Theory like that. They were not in full production. They were not in full production in the middle of 2021.
Odyssey is one of the best games that came out on last generation. Incredible game, Ninja Theory.
But what you just said, I do not think is true, because they said in the middle of 2021 they were not in full production. So it's not been in development for the same amount of time that Horizon Forbidden West was. I don't think that's true.
Well, but here, but you know what? What have they been doing? They were acquired in 2018, right?
Offices, updating Windows.
They've done a couple of dev diaries. I will defend these guys quite a bit because I'm really worried about that title, because Hellblade's like one of my all-time favorite titles.
I love Hellblade.
They were doing sound capture. They were going on site. They were doing lots of mocap, and I think they were also converting a lot of things to Unreal 5. So they were basically doing what the Coalition did to a degree. Coalition went nose down, said, "Hey, we're converting everything to Unreal 5. You won't hear from us for a while." They did that, and then they also were doing all kinds of like environmental capture, motion capture. Yeah. So when they said in middle of 2021 that they were not even in full production yet, people were actually kind of annoyed. It's like, why are you showing us trailers if you're not even in full production? The timing was a little weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's fine. All of that holds water, but at the end of the day, you hear these. Obsidian was announced same time or right around the same time as Ninja Theory, and Obsidian's been putting out game after game after game after game. Obsidian's been their real. You want to talk about? That's a team that when the name comes up, then everybody gives them credit. But really, nobody in the community really brags too much about Obsidian. Obsidian's been the real golden star of their acquisition so far.
What about State of Decay 3? I remember those devs. We interviewed them right after they got purchased in 2018. They said, we're working on State of Decay. Merc, you were there. I was playing Xbox. They said, well, Booty confirmed. Like, they basically said, we're making State of Decay 3. It was like right after E3.
That studios. Well, a lot of these studios ran into trouble. I think they ran into trouble. The Initiative lost a lot of people. Drew Murray and those guys left. Now they're doing collaborative work with Crystal Dynamics to try and get an old game like Perfect Dark out. And that was the AAA studio, quadruple A studio.
Can you imagine the pressure? That game has got to be stellar when that comes out. Hellblade 2. It has got to be stellar.
I'm sure it will be. I think it will be. I think it's going to be great.
I can't imagine.
I do think it'll be great.
I hope, man. I loved Hellblade 1, man. Hellblade 2.
I have concerns about how ambitious they're being because it has to run on the Xbox Series S, and I think that is a huge concern. That's a humongous concern.
Oh, don't say that, Lono. Whatever you say, the S is,
she's gonna look like Ellie on the. She's gonna look like Ellie.
Don't get me started on that. You know what's funny?
Joel.
Yeah, right.
Joel. She'll look like Joel running on that thing on the PC.
PC Joel.
What did they do to Joel?
Oh my God!
Was that an actual screenshot, or was that somebody being funny?
Bootleg Joel in the flash.
That's Groucho Marx Joel.
Oh my God!
Well, we can talk about that real quick. So
That's not a real screenshot, right?
Dude, that was shaders.
Well,
turned up to 110.
I've heard different stories, so I'm not going to say that this is the truth. I don't know, but supposedly the shaders take upwards. BG, did you do a test on this? BG, was it over an hour for the shaders on Last of Us Part 1 on PC to come through? Did you do a test on that?
For me, it took about like 40 minutes. It was. I've never seen a game take so long to compile shaders on PC. Yeah. I'm like, this cannot be normal. It was just. I mean, the whole experience was just weird, man. Of how long it took for you to actually get that game up and actually into it. So, and the whole situation with Iron Galaxy is also very confusing because before launch, I didn't hear any mention of Iron Galaxy. It was looking like Naughty Dog was doing this port themselves for some reason. And then but we know Iron Galaxy is involved, and when you boot up the game, you see the Iron Galaxy screen on PC.
Yep.
But when you go to the Steam page and you look at the description, there's no mention of Iron Galaxy. Right? Usually when somebody does the PC ports, you see co-developers. You see Naughty Dog and then Iron Galaxy. And then I forgot his name, Arnie Meyer. He was like the head of communication at Naughty Dog. He's been promoted. He shouted out Iron Galaxy during the launch. So it's like this it's like this credit, but not giving them credit. So we don't know who really did the most of this work for developing this PC version. It
Didn't
is
they
seeming
pick up
like
Bluepoint to take care of those PC ports?
Or
And
Nexus.
Nixus, yeah.
The
But
Nixus
the
is
thing is,
the God of War.
it seems like Nix is it seems like they're still employing Iron Galaxy in some in one other studio, because I guess Nix's can't do everything, and they're trying to get these games on PC as soon as possible. Because Iron Galaxy also did the Uncharted 4 port, I believe. So
Yeah,
those Nix's-
I'm looking at the Steam page right now. They're listed on the Uncharted 4.
Yeah, if you read the Naughty Dog blog about this, I was extremely confused because Naughty Dog talks as if they were the ones that did it. It's very confusing. There was no ownership of the problems either. I was actually pretty disappointed in the Naughty Dog blog about this. I thought there should have been a lot more forthright ownership of the problem, like let us know what happened. I think this is absolutely embarrassing for a property of this prestige, and it's so well known, and the show was such a hit.
Agree with that.
This was absolutely prioritized based on marketing because of the TV show, and I think they've done a disservice to everything that went into the original game as well as the remake and the TV show. So they ought to be embarrassed, for one. And number two, I don't think the ownership is where it should be, because we shouldn't be saying what we're saying right now. We should know who did it, what happened, how are you going to fix it? But was it Iron Galaxy or was it not? Was it Naughty Dog or was it not? And now Naughty Dog's saying they're taking over PC development of their properties. Well, okay, were you doing that for this? I don't think this has been handled properly from a transparency or accountability or ownership perspective at all.
Does this seem like it's just something where it's just a complete, where they just dropped the ball completely? Or do you think this is just a situation that shows us, the consumer, just how not in the PC Sony is? This is does that show their lack of, because Sony doesn't let games, people even said Days Gone released in a bad shape. Not this bad.
Yeah, but
not this bad.
If you say that, Mooch, then
asking.
This is essentially their Halo. They can't let that happen.
This is
I agree. I agree.
I was just about to say that, Warrior. This is not the optics of this doesn't look good.
Yeah, it's not good for the
this is their big.
I agree.
And especially coming off the success of the show.
This
isn't the optics of this aren't good. This is a bad port, and I'm just surprised that it released in this state. To be frank, I'm just really surprised.
So Naughty Dog did release some sort of an update today. I believe it was early today. BG, did that change anything? Because you're the only one I know. Is anyone else playing it? But BG, did you notice anything?
No, nothing major. I never experienced the crashes. Mainly what I got was stuttering and just bad performance. I didn't notice anything big, and most people said they didn't notice any big difference either. But it was like a hot fix, and usually hot fixes don't really change, fix the big issues. Yeah, it's just to address small things.
The history here is frustrating because somebody said, Days Gone launched and was buggy. It was actually buggy on the PlayStation. The actual PC port of Days Gone is rock solid. So
it was good.
Yeah, no, not the PC. I apologize. I was trying to make a reference to the game when it came out on PlayStation, not on PC. My point was, this is an all-time bad, right? Because
right. I just wanted people to understand that, with the exception of, I think Uncharted had some mouse stuttering, because again, there's an input conversion there that they're struggling with, going from controller to mouse and keyboard. And I understand that. I'm actually a little bit more tolerant of that being a challenge. But Returnal was praised. I think it got patched within 48 hours. It had a couple of things. Returnal got ripped to shreds because people saw Epic Online Services and they thought it was installing Epic Game Store Ghost, and it wasn't. So Steam users freaked out. And so all the ports up to now have been either excellent or at least passable good, and this is so far below the bar.
Outside of Horizon, Horizon was pretty bad.
The first one. The first one. Horizon was the first one to go there, right? Yeah.
That was some studio they never worked within called Virtuoso or one of them.
I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to gloss over that. Horizon Zero Dawn port was pretty bad. I played it later after it had been patched, and it ran well.
It still wasn't even as bad
Guerrilla,
as this.
No. Guerrilla was the original developer. So no, they didn't list it in the store on who ported it. I
gotta ask you guys. I know it's 9 o'clock, but we started a little bit late. I'm gonna try and just mooch a little more of your time. I'll start again with BG. BG, what was your take? I just want to ask you this because I think you might have the best response. E3 is officially canceled. No shock there. It's gone for good? Are we done with this? I know you're having fun with the Jeff Keighley tweets.
Yeah, he's man, that meme of the guy just like, standing over somebody's grave, that's what Jeff Keighley's doing.
Yes, he is.
And it's kind of sucks for the ESA because E3 was at the height of its popularity right before the pandemic. It's not like E3 was, even though I think by then Nintendo had said they were leaving and everything like that. It was still, if you look at the numbers, from 2015 to 2019, they were killing it as far as viewership, trailers, and attendance. So Nintendo was on their way out. The pandemic happened, and that just escalated.
Yep.
And it just escalated the fact that all these publishers said we could just do this by ourselves. It'll cost us less. We don't gotta collaborate with the ESA. We can do everything and control the narrative. Can curate everything, and it'll have the same effect. Probably better because people are just gonna come to us as the source. So there's no reason to ever go back to E3. They realize so, and
BG, do you feel like since we've lost E3 though, we've lost a bit of that excitement? You know what I mean? Like E3 week was a big deal, not just the show, but the whole week after was a big deal. We got some reveals afterwards. We got interviews. We got sometimes something that we find out what DLC would be coming down the pipeline. Now we're getting these Nintendo Directs, State of Plays, even the Xbox Bethesda showcase. It's like it doesn't have does it have the same fireworks? I mean, you tell me what you think.
I don't think we lose out on anything because listen, E3. I said in my video, E3 is not an event anymore. E3 is a time. When somebody says wait for E3, right. What you in your mind, what you think about is June.
You're right. No, we didn't lose the product. We didn't lose some of the. Well, we lost a little bit of the shows. We haven't seen Sony's yet in quite some time. But that aside, do you think that we've lost some of the excitement though? Like when there's going to be a Sony, let's say, showcase. Shout out to the great Jeff Grubb, who said that he had heard. And again, I always say, don't hold Jeff to this here.
Savage.
It's going to happen sometime in May or June, right? Let's just say hypothetically. Is that the same as when Sony took the stage and they had? It was. I love making fun of it too. It was fun. Man. The orchestra and all the flute player.
The flute guy.
That was a horrible one when they had the flute guy and they were taking people different. Oh my god, that was hilarious.
The 3 different areas they did, but there was a Last of Us, I think, reveal there.
There was, there was a Last of Us there.
That was the last one.
I didn't care for the flute guy.
BG, you don't think we lost a little bit of that spark?
No,
now getting the digital
I agree.
shows?
I missed the timeliness of it. Like I miss that time knowing that's when we're gonna get our news. And this whole kind of scouring the internet now, trying to figure out who's going to do a show. We're going to announce something on Twitter, doing a video. I like the cadence of knowing that, hey, this is when they're going to bring all their stuff, their announcements in the June. I think that's what I loved about E3 was that's when we know we're going to get the news. And this whole kind of now, you don't know when's Sony going to do a showcase, when's Microsoft Developers Direct and Nintendo Showcase and all this, the Happy Tree, whatever they call their thing.
Yeah.
But, just like they did the Zelda stuff, 10 minutes, dude, of just hey, on a Wednesday, let's go, let's do it. Zelda on a Wednesday, and it's just.
That's the thing. I like Jez's point there where it was they had to have their performance, their games ready because BG's right. It was a time frame, right? But back then they had a day to prepare. Now it's whenever they want. They can break it into 2 pieces. We could have an early year showing and a little bit later. We'll do it when we want. It's like when you had some sort of a review at work, and then all of a sudden your boss goes, it's optional now. And you're like, all right. It's not the same, right? You kind of put in half the effort, it feels. Shout out to the great Slow-Mo, by the way. Slow-Mo Backslap just sent me what Naughty Dog put out March 31st, 7:18 p.m. That's just a few hours back. Now he says, this is right from Naughty Dog on Twitter. The Last of Us Part 1 PC players. He says, pardon me, Naughty Dog says, we know some of you have not experienced the Naughty Dog quality you expected. Our team is working hard to resolve issues currently preventing some of you from experiencing the game to ensure it reaches the quality level you expect and deserve. Shout out to the great Slow-Mo Backslap for that quote from Naughty Dog on Twitter. I appreciate that. That's live and almost late breaking.
Nice. And Mooch, I want to add something to that.
No,
like,
go
there's
ahead.
someone that's been grinding my gears about this stuff. I got a little grind here.
Go ahead.
So the thing about E3, like I feel like what E3 was, there was a layer when media was respected, and it was a media show. And one of the things that we got the announcements, but what a big thing that we're missing out on, and we have been, is the hands-on gameplay that you would get the articles, you would get this stuff saying, I played this on the show floor.
Yep.
Let me tell you my opinion on it. Or we saw this behind closed doors. Let me tell you about what I saw. Or I can't tell you. I'll tell you. Like all that kind of stuff was the extension of E3 that we have missed out on. And this whole coming to direct to consumer, I feel like these publishers and these companies they think they could finesse us. Like, they could basically show us some great gameplay or whatever they want to show us. Nobody's playing it.
Whatever they want to show.
We don't get the hands-on. The media now has turned into just trash, and their biasness, and they're trying to scramble around just retweeting people's, rumors and all that other stuff, calling it news.
Yeah.
So the media has now tried to, they're like a fish out of water right now, trying to figure out where they fit in. Because now the publishers are like, hey, let's just go right to the consumers. But the problem we're missing out on is we're not getting the hands-on of the impressions of these games, and we're just seeing it. And I think it benefits a lot of the publishers because they think you can probably get that kind of fandom. Like, I'll just buy it. I don't care. It looks great. I'll buy it. And we're not getting that kind of – the media had a role a lot of times at that E3 to really kind of interpret what was going on to that pop and circumstance that we saw on the screen. Wow, it looked great, but tell you, I played the demo. Dude, it's not ready for prime time. Those are the things that helped us make our buying decisions.
Yeah.
Now that whole part's missed. They just show us a video online, and then you write a tweet if you like it or not. Look at what happened with the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
They showed that video and said, "Hey, it's Crackdown 4, basically," and people are like, "Yeah, we're putting this back in the back burner." People didn't like all that stuff. Like, I just feel that E3 had that show floor impressions. Those were really good. Like, even when we had YouTubers and stuff, like people that we follow,
you're not lying.
Go there.
And I know a lot of you guys might not be Apple. I'm an Apple. Not you guys know I have pretty much Apple everything. Like, but when they do the WWDC that they do, they still invite the press and all that. They do the show's digital, but then they have the press and them there. So you have a bunch of people that go and do it, and then you can watch their shows. They're like, I got hands on with the iPhone 14, and it does this. It doesn't do that. The camera's not as good as I thought it was going to be, or this was better. It's actually lighter. The battery's better. Like that hands-on, that's reporting as a consumer you like to know. And, shout out to Jez7780, who's right here. He went to PAX East, I appreciate it, Jez. You gave me a shout out on Twitter. You said, Mooch, because he knows I'm drooling to play Dead Island 2. And he goes, Mooch, I'm on my way to the Dead Island 2 booth. I'll let you know what it is after I play it. And he tweets out, he goes, it's absolutely a blast to play. And you were critical of other games. You said these other games were not. So, I mean, that's that experience where I know Jez, and Jez is going to give me his truth. He would have told me, Mooch, Dead Island sucks. He would have said it sucked. You're waiting for nothing. And I would have been like, and I would have really been like, I probably would have said, Jez, I'm still going to play it, but I'm going to play it knowing that I'm walking into a 6 out of 10, But now I'm excited. I'm even more excited.
I loved it, man. I'm hyped up for it. It was great.
You do lose a little bit of that, I think. Anybody else got any E3 comments? I mean, I know not.
I think what it will result in, though, is games coming out in a more timely manner from the time they were actually announced. Because as much as I like the excitement of hearing about like some of these games 3 years, because I think like Ghost of Tsushima, I think from the time we actually first seen it might have been like 2.5, 3 years before we actually got it. I think because these publishers, they knew E3 was a yearly thing. That's really why they announced the game 3 years before it was coming out, because they knew they had to show up with something, not necessarily because they wanted to show off a game that early. So I think that's why you see shows from them that are at a different cadence, at a different frequency, because they want to show these games off probably within a year and a half max of when they're actually going to release it. So I think that will be the result, less waiting from the time we know it officially exists.
I just want to quickly say,
no, go ahead.
I think we have a replacement in Summer Game Fest. I think you're going to start to see that block of time get fuller and fuller. And there's even a tweet 14 minutes ago from MBG. He's got Jeff Grubb in a Discord somewhere saying that the PlayStation Showcase is going to be happening before Summer Game Fest. I was speculating maybe June the 1st. That's like the first Thursday of June. Maybe they decide to do it on the 6th or the 7th because Summer Game Fest kicks off on the 8th, and then the 9th and the 10th is Days of Play, and then June 11th is the Xbox Bethesda Showcase followed by Starfield Direct. So there, I think you're going to start to see that there's going to be that clustering effect, and I'm telling you, Keeley, he's a sneaky smart guy. He's going to start to be a funnel, and everybody's going to go to him because that clustering is already happening, and it's happening around him.
And he controls December too. On like he has the other showcase. If hey, you
the
don't
Video
want to play
Game
my
Awards.
Fest,
yeah.
I got another show for you.
He's got the bookend.
Right.
You know,
I love it. I love it. He gets to kick off the summer and kick off the the holiday time. He's a smart guy.
PGA's been getting better too. Like they were good last year, man. They've been getting better.
He stuck with it. You know, there was a couple years, his first few years, where they had like Joel McHale and all that, and that didn't go over very well. And then, you know, he stuck with it, and he's got, like you said, now he's got the bookends. He's literally got June and he's got December. And people are watching, and I do think they will funnel in. I do. I think so. You're saying we're going to start seeing Sony's show and Microsoft's show correspond and correlate with his dates for Summer Games Fest. And guess what? I'm okay with that. We do still miss some of the showroom floor with the media getting hands-on and different types of impressions versus people speaking really nicely about a product because they got invited. It's different than just being invited and being able to play the game. But nonetheless, I think that's definitely very cool to see, and that's a good point. I appreciate the late breaking news there, Lono.
Yeah.
BRAP, you got something? I hear something.
Yeah, I was going to say, the GameIndustry.biz. What's that? I
said, sounds like something's percolating. I hear you. You're like, I don't know. Go ahead, BRAP.
Oh, no, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was going to say the GameIndustry.biz interviewed the head of the ESA, and he was talking about like what happened this year's E3 2023. And some of it was, the current economy.
Yeah.
And companies are scaling back on travel and expenses. Like that's happening. It's happening on my company. Non-essential travel and, the cost of, renting out floor space and, getting all that, getting all your, internal employees there, flights, things like that, hotel. I mean, that stuff adds up. It's costs. And companies are mindful of their bottom line right now, especially with uncertainty in the economy. I think that's part of it. But I don't think it's part of what Jeff Keighley said the other day. That look, he said he recognized this trend of the digital age a couple of years ago. He says this in a tweet, and I don't disagree with him. I mean, you can have an impact and reach millions of people via things like YouTube, and you probably don't have to spend as much money doing that. I think there's something to be said for that.
Definitely.
So
it cuts costs big time, Brad.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know what happens with E3 now. I mean, I said maybe on BRAP on Wednesday, maybe they need to turn this into like a PAX type thing, where they have like a E3 East and an E3 West or something.
We'd welcome that on the East Coast. We get we get very little love over here. They forget we play games on the East Coast.
Love, yeah.
So I got some super chats.
We should have a.
Go ahead, bro.
As you say, we should get together, Mooch, and have like a game show at the Olive Garden. That's what I'm thinking. And, breadsticks.
If we could just
breadsticks,
just bump it up to any other location, Brap, and I'm down. Shout out to the great Jimmy Harrison. He says, shout out to Worry Ward. Shout out to Worry Ward. Great Jimmy Harrison. Great to have Jimmy here. I appreciate it. Sheffield's Fury says, you'll like this one, Lono. He says, the starving firstborn is one of the best analogies I've ever heard about the ABK deal. LOL. So shout out to Sheffield. Yeah, TrueWiddy, he says, why are people giving corporations human emotions? That's something to still be determined, TrueWiddy. That's going to take a couple more podcasts.
That's so weird, by the way. So many people do that. It's like, why?
Yeah. I don't think the world will ever know, Brap, to be honest with you.
Social media and YouTube. That's the reason.
Yeah, it's all like, oh, this X corporation is scared of this. No, they're not scared. It's like companies aren't scared. They care about money. They don't want to lose money.
I love the whole Jim Ryan's losing his job because of that CMA.
Yeah, that's the other thing I saw. Oh, he's going to lose. How is he going to lose his job? Did you not see the latest report on PlayStation 5 console sales? Like, really, he's going to lose his. He's going to lose his job. How? Yeah. So the guy who doesn't deliver software on a regular basis keeps his job, but the guy who's making who's grabbing more market share has a successful platform is going to lose his job. That makes zero sense. Clearly, you've never worked anywhere if you're saying that.
Agreed.
That was
Maybe
that
you
was
worked
funny.
at a Wawa making sandwiches. I don't know.
Or an Olive Garden.
Isn't it funny? Sometimes you
Or an
read
Olive
things.
Garden serving breadsticks.
You read things on Twitter. You have to read them twice. Sometimes you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that one. Shout out to Ekem. He says, what's good for the consumer might not be what's best for the gamer. I think a lot of people are missing that because they want to save a few bucks. That's the thing, and that's yet to be told. We're going to find out, because again, a lot of the games that are going into Game Pass right now, even this year, as everyone has said on the panel, I'm not taking credit for it, these are games that have already been in development for many, many years. So we're going to see what the product of Game Pass is as we move forward. Shout out to Ekim for that. The Rogue Inquisitor's back. He says, I miss Xbox demos crashing to Windows 7. Oh, Rogue Inquisitor, you're just too hard on the green. Take it easy, buddy. Love Rogue Inquisitor. Raji's here. Raji, we miss you. He says, I do think we still have some hands-on for releases. Sony still has reviews long before release. See the PSVR2 hands-on with many reviewers. That is true, Raji. They are doing that with a lot of the PSVR2 games. And, shout out to the PSVR2, not just the PSVR2, all the VR streamers out there. I got to say, take a second. That's come a long way, because generally, we've said it on the show tonight, I'll say it again. You got to try the game out yourself before you really kind of, don't knock it till you try it, whatever you do. But I will say, these VR channels on YouTube have done their damnedest, and they've done a really good job of selling me on a couple of games that wasn't on my radar for VR. And I'm just watching them play, and it has them in the corner, BG being one of them. BG, outstanding job. And by the way, I tip my cap to you. I love live streaming gaming on Twitch, YouTube. I love it too. But I still haven't figured out how I want to do the VR segment. So shout out to BG. Go over and check his channel out.
Yo,
man.
BG was in that VR Horizon for 2 hours, and yet when you have your wife reading the chat to you, that was hilarious.
Yeah,
dude,
that
was
was
great.
Just some impromptu session, and yeah, it's like live streaming VR isn't the easiest setup.
No,
but yeah, I'm a novice as far as my knowledge goes on VR. I watch all the channels that you probably watch when it comes to their knowledge on the best VR games and everything about it. I'm just playing it, but they really know everything about it.
Whew. I'll tell you, but the greatest footage you put out, did you say that the missus also recorded you when you didn't know?
Yeah.
Didn't you put that footage out there, BG?
Just looking like an idiot.
Yeah, but what's funny though? It just shows how immersed you get into the game. That's what I took from that clip. BG just put it on, he's playing the game, and he's so into it. And honest to God, that's what it is. You really do get into it. The games have gone from an experience to a full-fledged game. And that's where I bought in. That's where I thought the first VRs were kind of missing out. I didn't want to be Batman for 20 minutes.
Man.
Walking Dead's great.
Is it really good?
Yeah,
Careful,
it is.
BRAP.
It has that rogue aspect to it, dude. If you don't get your mission done in a certain amount of time, you have to go back, and then they spawn more enemies, and the day changes. So it's almost like that whole the days go on. The longer it takes you to do a mission, the worse it gets for you. And it's craft, dude. It's like Last of Us. You're opening up drawers and stuff, and crafting things on the fly. You could grab them by the head and smash them with the butt of the gun.
Yeah.
That was wild.
No, it's good stuff. It really is. I originally said to BRAP, I said, you're
the first one.
I said, BRAP, you're percolating something. He goes, oh, what? And then the great Percolator 9000, he goes, Mooch, yes. Mooch said my name. He said, I'll show up. Chokes and laughing. Hello, everybody. Shout out to Percolator 9000. Great to have Perk here with us, too. I always talk to Perk behind the scenes. Great gamer as well. Loves his games. Well, guys, listen, I got to be honest with you. I think this show was absolutely phenomenal. I think this show was exactly what I wanted and then some. What an outstanding chat, guys. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks to this amazing panel. This is a very talented gaming-centric panel. Love these guys. I love watching their content. I love everything that they put out. I love their takes. And the thing is, that's what's great about the show. It happened at least a half dozen times. You don't always have to agree, guys. It's okay. It's okay to have a conversation. Let me go in reverse order here and just say, Lono, outstanding having you on the show, man. I hope you enjoy your time here on CrossFire. We want to get you back on the show whenever you're available. Please keep doing the content you're doing. Love how you keep the news and that entertaining for us. And then Twitter, of course, always helps on any of that front. But Lono, let everybody know where they can find you. And thanks for being here tonight.
I really appreciate it. And I am sorry about the mic stuff at the beginning. I hate that. I pride myself in audio and quality, and Discord not liking my Focusrite. We're going to have words afterward. I'm going to fight with Discord. But the best place to find me is Reforge Gaming. That's on Twitter. That's on YouTube. So Reforge Gaming all week long. We're doing the talk shows. I'm even going to end with you guys, and I'm going to go hang out with members and do a stream with my wife. That's something we do every Friday night. So
Nice.
This is a great time slot to hang out with you guys and go do that. I appreciate it. I'll come back anytime you want.
Hey, I appreciate that, Lionel. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. It was a great show. Great show. Speaking of great, BG, listen, I got to say thanks to you as well, not only for doing tonight's show, but you definitely carried a lot of the weight as we went through the Last of Us HBO reactions. It was great because I just know that you're a massive fan. I'm a big fan as well. And the truths that just came out, the good, the bad, the ugly, how we felt about each episode, it was a blast. I kind of hate that I don't have that Monday show anymore because I really enjoyed just sitting there with gamers that loved it, and you were one of them, and you really helped out. So, BG, thanks for that. Appreciate that. Let everybody know where they can find you. And, of course, I can't wait till you return to CrossFire as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Weapon Wheel podcast on Sundays. Broken Games HDR. Look up the channel. Twitter, same thing.
Appreciate it, BG, as always. And then the great Merc305. Merc, I got to be honest with you. I got to get you. Listen, I'm already booking you. I don't care. I'm booking you already.
Hey,
Merc.
Way in here.
Would you please do me a favor and let me know when the next time you're available? Because we just got to have you on the show. I love it when you're here. Well, you said it was murky waters all night, but I got to get more Merc. Merc, let everybody know where they can find you, and I can't wait till you return as well.
Hey, thank you for the invite. Looking forward to coming back. And everybody can find me Merc305 everywhere, man. I'll see you guys there.
Appreciate it. The great Jez7780. Jez, you've gone from Monday nights to just every night. I don't know. All I know, it's great for me. I get home late. I work sometimes till 9, 10 o'clock at night from home sometimes. And all I know is I turn on my YouTube and there's Jez on the Grindhouse. Jez, let everybody know where they can find you, man, and love the content. Please keep it coming.
Hey, thanks. Yep, it's the Gaming Grindhouse on Monday nights at 8:30. So, and then I do the Grinds Bite over the week, but I've been throwing a whole bunch of pack stuff on my channel. I've been streaming like crazy with VR and everything like that. So keep it locked there. The Gaming Grindhouse. I'm going to have the show on Monday night and then more Grinds Bites. Maybe even a Grindhouse birthday celebration next week. We'll see. But everybody, keep it tuned there. The Grinds board is active, and we got the tunes and the all the little music that I have, the little jingles.
I love
Let
it,
us
buddy.
compete.
Please let us compete, and please play
Fernando.
Please.
And Fernando was mine.
Please
Fernando.
Please play the Game Pass song on the birthday celebration, please, Jez.
Oh, yes, the Game Pass song. Yes,
we need to have that. The great Gaming Forte was with us again tonight, too. Forte, love when you're on the show. I got to be honest with you. I know you're in charge of your store, but I'm going to have to call maybe the district manager or above to get your Friday nights free because I love when you're on the show. So, Forte, thanks for being here tonight, especially on your night off, and spending some time with us. And a great DPS podcast last night. Shout out to the great Slow-Mo Backstop, who was an active part of this show from the audience. Forte, let them know where they can find you, and thanks for being here, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's always great to be here, man. Just talking games and everything with everybody. Everybody here has some really amazing opinions, and that's what Crossfire is always about. And make sure you guys come check us out on DPS Podcast every Thursday night. What he said, like he said, with the homeboy Slow-Mo Backslap on my channel, Gaming Forte. And if you like Xbox content and everything else, make sure you come through and check us out. It's always a good time, and have a good weekend, guys.
I appreciate that, Forte. And Basement Radio Arcade Podcast, who also had a bunch of stuff going on before the show. I appreciate him taking that time today. BRAP, you definitely could have had a pass tonight and been like, I'm not going to be there, but I got to be honest with you. And I think you feel the same way. What a great show to show up to, man. Outstanding contributions on your part. Let people know where they can find you. I really appreciate it.
No, this was a lot of fun, Mooch, especially considering what I had done today. And the fact that while I was sedated, I was somehow dreaming about Halo Infinite, which is kind of odd. But no, man, it was great to be back on. I missed last week, so really great to be back on. Great panel, great show, great conversation as always. If you want to give me a follow on the Twitters, BRAP_podcast, and on YouTube, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Please check out our show. This past show that we had this Wednesday, we actually had Lono on, and it's Alex. And Game Logic on. It was a great show, so check it out. But Mooch, great show as always, man. Thank you.
I appreciate that, BRAP. And the great Worry Ward who had to leave. I think sometimes he calls in when he gets a chance to on breaks, work, etc., etc. But there's going to be a lot more from the great Worrywart Gaming. Guys, go over and check him out. Worrywart Gaming over on YouTube. Outstanding. The man's putting out at least 3, 4, maybe 5 videos a week, and he does like an hour podcast, which is like a solo cast. And he's a gamer. He's entertaining. Love his commentary. So go over and check out Worrywart. Go over and check out that great Xbox 448. That's Xbox 448 everywhere. Next podcast on Thursday night. Guys, I got to say this much. What an outstanding show tonight. Shout out to Eric Jackson as well. Eric Jackson was going to join us, and something came up. He wrote me in the middle. He says, Mooch, I'm just not going to be able to make it. I'll be there next week or the week after. So shout out to Eric. Always great when Eric's here as well. Pardon me. And YouTube Lurker, I got to read his super chat before we leave. He says, in an age of console tribalism, this was a well-balanced show. Gamers just want to play games. Well done, gentlemen. YouTube Lurker, thank you for the compliment to the... I give all my respect and honor to the panel. Everything to the panel. Great to be here. Guys, please on the way out, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And, if you want to join the channel, hit the join button. It really, really helps, and it really means the world to me. That being said, guys, we'll see you next Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Good night, good weekend, and keep gaming. We'll see you later.